Chapter 2606. Junior Nephew Bei Xian, Master Sea Dragon is only a perfected human demon. Is there a need for us to take his sea dragon? Lurier asked curiously as he looked at the humongous warship. Lan Ruo did not find it strange. He had crossed the Ink Sea previously and was used to taking these ships. After all, it was safer. Since we're crossing the sea, it's naturally better to take a ship. Ning Qi smiled and walked towards the sea dragon. Lurier thought that Ning Qi wanted to see the scenery of the Ink Sea. He shook his head with a smile and followed. Ning Qi's ticket this time was on the deck instead of a cabin. Therefore, Lan Ruo went to find a seat first after boarding Sea Dragon, only to find that their seats were already taken by 4 demons. The 4 demons chatted enthusiastically and had no intention of getting up even when they saw Ning Qi's group. Lan Ruo was about to yell at them but was stopped by Ning Qi. After a while, the 4 demons saw Ning Qi's group standing there and could not help but yell, "Move aside! Ming-san!" Ning Qi smiled. Ming-san nodded and grinned at the 4. "Do you want to jump down yourself, or do you want me to invite you down?" They looked at each other and stood up abruptly. Just as they were about to move, they sensed the perfected human demon aura that Ming-san had purposely released. The 4 of them were dumbfounded. "Are you kidding me? Why would a perfected human demon buy a seat on the deck?" They had their own cabins and only wanted to chat on the deck. They thought that the demons who bought the seats on the deck were of low cultivation and did not take it seriously, which was why they were so unscrupulous. But now they realized that they had kicked an iron plate. The demons nearby, who had been waiting to watch the show, were bewildered when they sensed the aura of the 3rd Ming Prince. "Spare us, sir." The 4 of them looked at Ming-san with trepidation. They were even more afraid of Ning Qi, who could order him around. "Why are you still standing?" 3rd Prince Ming smiled. "Yes." The 4 of them looked at each other, then jumped off the sea dragon together. At this moment, the sea dragon had not set sail yet and was docked at the port. However, for the sake of their lives, they did not dare to jump onto the shore. Instead, they jumped directly into the sea of ink. "Boss, please sit." The 3rd Ming Prince patted Ning Qi's seat in an ingratiating manner. Seeing this scene, the nearby demons looked at Ning Qi with a hint of fear in their eyes. They stood up and retreated, not daring to approach Ning Qi's group of 4. This scene was noticed by the geniuses of the devil race on every level of the cabin, and all of them were extremely surprised, and they secretly guessed the origins of Ning Qi's group of 4. A few seconds after Ning Qi and the others sat down, a figure appeared in front of them. Master Sea Dragon looked at the 3rd Prince in surprise. He obviously recognized the son of the Nether Snake Overlord of the Ink Sea. 3rd Prince Ming, Master Sea Dragon said in astonishment. At the same time, he glanced at Ning Qi and the other 2 and recognized Lurier and Lan Ruo. He felt strange in his heart. Why would the people of Yan Shan City's Devil King Mansion be together with the 3rd Ming Prince, who had been missing for many years? Moreover, he knew that the Lucifer tribe was preparing to attack the Demon King's mansion in Yen Mountain City. Suddenly, a trace of suspicion appeared in his heart. Could it be that these 2 escaped from the Demon King's mansion? Thinking of this, Master Hai Long's expression became a little ugly. "Oh, it's Master Sea Dragon." The 3rd Ming Prince glanced at him, then nodded and said no more. Seeing this, Master Sea Dragon's gaze fell on Lurier and Lan Ruo. He said coldly, "You 2 are from Yan Shan City's Devil King Mansion, right? I'm sorry, but my Sea Dragon ship is full today. Please disembark." "Are you kidding me? Could it be that the ticket I bought is fake?" Lurier was instantly enraged and slapped the ticket. Master Sea Dragon took a look and nodded. "It's fake." The Sea Dragon ship was his, so he had the final right to explain. If he said it was fake, then it was fake. "Master Sea Dragon, what do you mean by this?" The 3rd Ming Prince glanced at Ning Qi. Seeing that Ning Qi had no intention of speaking, he stood up and stared coldly at Master Sea Dragon, ready to attack. Nothing. They are people wanted by the Lucifer tribe. They can't board my sea dragon ship, Master Sea Dragon said plainly. People wanted by the Lucifer tribe? I just heard from Master Sea Dragon that they are from Yen Shan City's Devil King Mansion. Recently, there's news that the Lucifer tribe is preparing to attack the Devil King Mansion. I heard that it's because the third disciple of Zun Shan Devil King Pain, Spider Stripe, stole the Lucifer tribe's holy relic. Although Master Sea Dragon is famous in Ink Sea, compared to the Lucifer tribe, it's like the difference between ants and elephants. Haha, I see. They chased away the 4 demons just now, but in the blink of an eye, they're going to be chased off the ship by Master Sea Dragon. Not necessarily. Didn't you hear how Master Sea Dragon addressed that Demon Perfection Realm Senior? Third Ming Prince, do you have any impression of him? SSS. Could it be the one under Ink Sea? Not bad. So there's going to be a good show today. I'm afraid it'll delay my journey. The demons on the deck nearby and the prodigies of the demon race standing in the hallway watched this scene with different expressions. Steer your ship properly. Don't worry about anything else, Ningqi said plainly. Master Sea Dragon frowned slightly and looked at Ningqi. He seemed to feel that Ningqi looked familiar. However, he had only met Ningqi once or twice, and Ningqi hadn't shown himself for more than 1,000 years, so he naturally couldn't recognize him. You are. Seeing that he couldn't see through Ningqi, Master Sea Dragon asked with a slightly solemn expression. If Ningqi was at the Earth Devil stage, there was no need for him to ride on his sea dragon ship. He completely had the strength to cross Ink Sea. It was precisely because of this that Master Sea Dragon found it difficult to judge. Ningqi didn't say anything. He just glanced at Master Sea Dragon indifferently. This glance made Master Sea Dragon feel as if he was facing a peerless beast. A layer of cold sweat suddenly seeped out of his back, and the aura in his body was a little chaotic. A trace of fear flashed in Master Sea Dragon's eyes. Yes, Master Sea Dragon no longer asked Lulriel and Lan Rua to get off the ship. He responded in a low voice and turned to leave. Everyone found that his footsteps seemed to be a little hurried. Chapter 2607. Senior, are you going to watch the great battle of immortals and demons? The Mirage Sea Tribe's demon looked at Ningqi cautiously. They had seen everything that had happened before. Even Master Hailong did not dare to provoke Ningqi. Demons like them, who relied on the sea dragon for a living, did not dare to offend Ningqi. Although they had the Mirage Sea Tribe behind them, the Mirage Sea Tribe had been in decline for many years. Otherwise, they would not have been reduced to begging for food on the sea dragon. Well, let's have a look. Ningqi nodded with a smile. Seeing this, the demon immediately led Ningqi into the tent respectfully, not even daring to ask for demonic crystals from Ningqi. Not far away, the third prince and the others saw this scene and suddenly had a flash of understanding. They finally knew why Ningqi wanted to ride the sea dragon. Master Hailong, who had been watching Ningqi from the top of the sea dragon, saw Ningqi enter the Mirage Sea Tribe's tent, and his eyes suddenly showed a trace of horror. He finally remembered who Ningqi was. I didn't expect his cultivation to have reached such a level in just 1,000 years. Even the previous champion of the demon race's Heaven's Pride battle was not as monstrous as him, right? Master Hailong murmured to himself, but he was puzzled by Ningqi's actions. He thought that Ningqi had advanced to the Earth Demon stage, but why would an Earth Demon specially come to watch the great battle of immortals and demons? Like the third prince and the others, he also guessed Ningqi's purpose for coming to the Sea Dragon. About an hour later, Ningqi left the illusion and stood in silence for a few breaths. Although he had seen it last time, he could still feel the anger and despair of the ancient immortal clan. They risked their lives to stop the demon race from invading the immortal world, but in the end it was not the demon race that defeated them, but the heavenly Tao behind them. Clan. A demon of the Mirage Sea Tribe stood to the side, quietly looking at Ning-Chi with some fear. He was afraid that Ning-Chi would not be satisfied with the performance of the great battle of immortals and demons. I heard that your Mirage Sea tribe has a slightly complete performance of the great battle of immortals and demons? Ning-Chi said lightly. The demon of the Mirage Sea tribe was slightly startled, then nodded and said in a low voice, somewhat tactfully, Senior, our tribe has a rule that only the celestial demon ancestor can watch the complete battle of immortals and demons. As he said, he looked at Ning-Chi's expression, fearing that Ning-Chi would get angry. I want to see. Where can I see it? Ning-Chi smiled. Senior, seeing this, the other party's face immediately revealed a troubled expression. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm a heavenly demon. Ning-Chi smiled. Hiss, not only did that devil from the illusory sea tribe suck in a breath of cold air, a few devils from the illusory sea tribe standing in the distance almost knelt down when they heard this. Their faces turned green with fright. Heavenly devil? Was this senior really a sky fiend? They found it hard to believe. What? Didn't I say that only sky fiends can see it? Ning-Chi frowned slightly when he saw that the other party was silent. The demon from the illusory sea tribe half knelt in front of Ning-Chi, his body trembling. I had eyes but failed to see. I didn't recognize Senior as the celestial devil ancestor. Please forgive me. There's no need to say anything else. Tell me, where can I go to see the complete great war of immortals and demons? Ning-Chi said lightly. Senior, you only need to head to our Mirage Sea City. The other party said hurriedly. After a while, Ning-Chi got a seat in the Mirage Sea City and returned to the deck. He said to the third Ming Prince, the Ink Sea is your hometown. Are you going back or going to the Lucifer tribe with us? The third Ming Prince showed a hint of hesitation in his eyes. Finally, he nodded and said, I'll go back then. He planned to tell his father about what he saw in the Nether River Divine Palace. After all, it was related to the origin of the Nether Snake tribe. All right, then let's part ways here. Ning-Chi smiled and nodded. The next moment, everyone felt a flash before their eyes. Ning-Chi, Lurier, and Lan Ruo disappeared into thin air. Remember to pick me up later. The third Ming Prince only finished the second half of his sentence. Unfortunately, it was already empty in front of him. Sigh. The third Ming Prince sighed bitterly. Then, he looked in the direction of Master Sea Dragon. He leaped up and turned into a huge nether snake, diving into the Ink Sea. The demons on the Sea Dragon were shocked to see the third Ming Prince's real body. Seeing that he disappeared into the Ink Sea, they heaved a sigh of relief. Lucifer tribe. 1,000 years was nothing to the immortal prison. Compared to the last time Ning-Chi visited the Lucifer tribe, there were only a few more buildings, but the general layout was the same. Marshal Nephew Beishian, are we going to visit them directly or? Lurier looked at Ning-Chi. This time, he chose to follow Ning-Chi to the Lucifer tribe. In fact, he didn't have much confidence, but this time, he had to come. If he didn't see the attitude of the Lucifer tribe with his own eyes, he wouldn't feel at ease. Found them. Ning-Chi released and retracted his divine thought. He had already found the location of Wan Li and Zhu Feng, but he didn't detect Jian Shilai's breath. It seemed that she was really missing. In addition, Ning-Chi also found the place where the old ancestor of the heavenly devil stage of the Lucifer tribe was in seclusion. A heavenly devil at the full realm was sitting there. He must be the heavenly devil ancestor of the Lucifer tribe who had lived for God knows how many years. Except for him, all the other elders were at the earth devil stage. When Ning-Chi's divine thoughts found the existence of the heavenly devil at the full realm, the other party seemed to be aware of it. He immediately released his divine thoughts, but it was in vain. He couldn't find Ning-Chi at all. Let's go see my two senior brothers first. They are a little happy at the moment. The corner of Ning-Chi's mouth rose slightly. Wan Li and Zhu Feng didn't like him from the beginning. When Ning Qi left the immortal prison, they had secretly used many means. But Ning Qi didn't expect that the two would betray pain and become an excuse for some people in the Lucifer tribe to deal with pain. Marshal Nephew Beixian, you found the two brats Wanli and Zhu Feng? Lurier was slightly shocked. They had just arrived at the Lucifer tribe, and Ning Qi had already found the two guys. Was this the means of the heavenly devil? Yes, I found them. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. At the next moment, two streams of demonic qi enveloped Uriel and Lanrua, and the three of them disappeared from where they were once again. When they reappeared, they were already outside a large hall. Ning Qi casually destroyed some of the restrictive spells they encountered along the way. As for what would happen after he destroyed them. Chapter 2608. This was a small banquet jointly organized by a few Lucifer tribe's geniuses. The participating geniuses were basically from the vassal forces of the Lucifer tribe, but the minimum requirement was to be at the intermediate stage of the human-demon tribe. Wanli, Zhu Feng, this time, both of you put righteousness before family and came forward to testify against pain. I would like to propose a toast to both of you. A demon race's genius raised his cup and gestured to the two. He was Davis's direct disciple. Ever since Ning Qi killed 70 to 80% of Davis's direct disciples in the demon race's heavens chosen battle more than 1,000 years ago, he, a low-ranked direct disciple, immediately received Davis's true inheritance. Now, he was honored as the eldest senior brother, just like Yu. Brother Feng is too polite. We are all relying on the Lucifer tribe. Naturally, we can't do ungrateful things. Third junior sister went astray for a while and stole the tribe's sacred relic. As her senior brothers, we naturally have the responsibility to come out and prove it. Otherwise, we will be sorry for our conscience. Wanli smiled faintly and drank the wine in his cup. Zhu Feng didn't say anything. His expression was slightly confused. However, when he felt Wanli's gaze, his confusion immediately disappeared and he drank the wine in one gulp. Feng Xinzi looked at Wanli and Zhu Feng with a smile, but deep in his eyes, there was a trace of undetectable disdain and contempt. Not only him, even though the other demon race's geniuses were amiable to the two, they all had a trace of disdain in their hearts. Wanli also seemed to understand this point, but he pretended not to notice. The smile on his face was still bright. No matter what, since they had made the decision this time, they had to go all the way. There was no turning back. I wonder how Master and the others are doing. Feng Xinzi smiled. With Elder Davis and Senior Lu Donghe taking action, I think Pain won't be able to escape. Brother Feng, don't worry. Wanli said with a smile. He called his master directly by his name. Wanli is right. Elder Davis and Senior Lu Donghe joined hands and brought hundreds of demon races experts. How can a mere Yen Mountain City's Demon King's mansion resist them? I think we will be able to see Pain's head soon. Haha, I wonder how surprised that person will be when he returns and sees his master's head. One of the devils chuckled. The hall immediately quieted down, and the atmosphere was a little strange. Clearly, they were thinking about the Heaven's Pride battle of the demon race over 1,000 years ago. Back then, the Heaven-punishing Flame Emperor and the Qiyu Emperor were all top-tier prodigies of the Han dynasty, but they had been beaten to a pulp by a puny demon race. Everyone here only played an insignificant role in the demon race's prodigy battle. Therefore, the atmosphere was so quiet when the demon said those words. He's already disappeared for more than 1,000 years. Perhaps he's already dead. If he really does appear again, then I'll let my eldest senior brother personally take his head. Wanli sneered. After all, Ning Qi's performance at that time was far too dazzling, and even a prodigy like the Heaven Punishment Emperor wasn't a match for him. Is that so? You want to take my head with your own hands? An indifferent voice rang out in the hall. Everyone turned to look at the entrance of the hall in astonishment. Unbeknownst to them, 3 figures had already appeared there. When Wan Li and Zhu Feng saw the three figures again, their expressions changed drastically. A sliver of disbelief appeared in their eyes. Wan Li, Zhu Feng, you two traitorous little bastards, little ingrates, are you surprised to see this old man here? Do you think that your master and I should have been killed by those two bastards, Davis and Lu Dongha? Luriel looked at Wan Li and Zhu Feng, and the corner of his lips curled into a mocking smile. Martial Uncle Wan Li and Zhu Feng subconsciously stood up and looked at Luriel in shock. Then, their gazes fell on Ning Qi. It's you, Feng Xinzi, and the other devils also recognized Ning Qi. After the shock, their expressions became a little strange. Logically speaking, Luriel should be dead. Why would he suddenly appear here? And why would the champion of the demon race's prodigy battle from over 1,000 years ago appear out of nowhere? Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, long time no see. I didn't expect that when we meet again, you've already become traitors who betrayed the sect. This really makes me a little happy. Ning Qi smiled slightly. Luriel was stunned. Lan Rua also looked at Ning Qi blankly. Meanwhile, Wan Li and Zhu Feng both reacted to Ning Qi's words and shouted to Feng Xinzi, Brother Feng, quickly send a message for the elders to come and kill this kid. Didn't you want to take my head with your own hands? I'm standing here. Come and take it. As for the elders of the Lucifer tribe, they should have already arrived, but they can't come in. Ning Qi said with a faint smile. At this time, some devils realized that the entrance of the hall seemed to be blocked by some kind of power. There were figures moving outside, but no one came in. Outside the hall, several Earth Devil stage elders looked extremely serious. Their gazes fell on the hall that was wrapped by a mysterious power, and they were a little shocked. What kind of existence dared to come to the Lucifer tribe so brazenly and even destroyed the few restrictive spells they had set up? And even this hall was sealed so that even they couldn't enter? Who's inside? The one who spoke was a late-stage Earth Demon expert. He was a member of the Elder Cabinet. Hearing this, the other elders immediately passed down the order. Chapter 2609. The demons in the hall were stunned when they saw Feng Xinzi fall to the ground and die. Then, they looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. Feng Xinzi was a late-stage human demon expert. How could he be killed in the blink of an eye without them noticing anything? What kind of method was this? There was a moment of silence. Everyone looked at each other, but no one dared to make a sound. Their gazes all subconsciously turned to Wan Li and Zhu Feng. Do you know who you've killed? Wan Li looked at Feng Xinzi's corpse with a trace of horror in his eyes. Oh? Does he have a powerful background? Ning Qi asked curiously. Wan Li and Zhu Feng were not worried about their own lives, but they were frightened by Feng Xinzi's death. Could this person be related to the great ancestor of the Lucifer tribe? He's the personal disciple of Elder Davis. Now that you've killed him, you won't be able to die even if you want to. Wan Li said coldly. Davis? I remember I've killed many of his disciples. One more won't make a difference, right? Ning Qi was stunned. Times are different now. Your backer in the Lucifer tribe has disappeared. Do you think you're a match for Elder Davis with your strength? Master and the others might have had a chance to live, but because of you, things have reached a point where there's no turning back. Wan Li said with a sigh. Then, he quietly observed the expressions of Ning Qi and the other two from the corner of his eyes, as if he wanted to see something from their expressions. In the end, he found that Luriel and Lanrual were laughing. This scene immediately made Wan Li a little uneasy. This was completely different from what he had imagined. In addition to a hint of threat, his previous words were also to confuse the other party and stabilize them. This way, the elders outside would have more time to break the restrictive spell that Ning Qi and the other two had set up. But now, the three of them were reacting very strangely. Wan Li, do you think your master has been suppressed by Davis and Lu Dongha? Haven't you thought about the reason why we can come here today and see you two little traitors? Luriel smiled. Thought about it carefully? Could it be the expressions of the other demons in the hall became rather unsightly, and a terrifying thought arose in their minds? Did Elder Davis and the others betray the Lucifer tribe? You don't need to guess anymore. Davis and Ludongha have already been killed by the young master. The young master is now a dignified sky demon. Even if your sky demon ancestor were to appear today, he would not be a match for the young master. You two traitors, kneel down and admit your guilt. Lan Rua, who had been silent all this while, finally couldn't hold back the anger in his heart and berated Wan Li and Zhu Feng. What? Davis and Ludongha are dead. He's a skyfiend? Impossible! This brat has only been missing for a mere 1,000 years. How could he possibly advance to a skyfiend? The people of the Demon King's mansion have all gone crazy. Do they think they can scare our Lucifer tribe just like that? The demon race prodigies in the hall admitted that Ningqi was strong, but none of them believed Lan Rua, including Wan Li and Zhu Feng. Lan Rua, do you know how treacherous your words are? What kind of magical power and means does the heavenly devil ancestor have? If he knows what you said, I'm afraid that even if the Holy Virgin returns to the Lucifer tribe, there will be no mercy. Why don't you leave quickly? Leave quickly and we will pretend that we didn't hear what you said today. Wan Li frowned. The reason you didn't die is because Master wants you to return alive. That's why I didn't kill you. As for my true goal in coming here today, it's not you. So, shut your mouth. Everything you've been relying on is like an illusion in front of me. Ning Qi smiled. When Wan Li and Zhu Feng heard this, a trace of fear appeared in their eyes. The other party actually planned to capture them alive? Thinking of Pain's face, their legs trembled. They wanted to say something more, but they suddenly discovered that Ning Qi's body was emitting an extremely terrifying demonic intent, and they were affected by this demonic intent. This demonic intent enveloped their bodies as though they had fallen into an abyss. Their bodies were cold, so cold that it was difficult to even open their mouth. This demonic intent was not only targeted at Wan Li and Zhu Feng. The other demons in the hall also felt it. Some demons with lower cultivation even knelt on the ground, unable to get up. Since you're here, come in. Ning Qi said faintly. Everyone was slightly stunned. Including Lawyer, they all knew that Ning Qi's words were not directed at them. Who was it? A crack suddenly appeared on the barrier at the entrance of the hall. Then, a pair of hands appeared in the crack. These hands tore outwards, causing the crack to become bigger and bigger. Finally, the barrier shattered, and a stalwart figure appeared in front of everyone. When Wan Li and the rest saw this person, they were pleasantly surprised. Ancestor is here. We are saved. The person who came was the sky demon ancestor of the Lucifer tribe who had lived for many years. His eyes were as black as ink, without a trace of white. Behind him stood a large group of elders of the Lucifer tribe. These people looked solemn, looking at Ning Qi and the other two with some fear and curiosity. Soon, when they recognized Ning Qi, their expressions became shocked and angry. Lurier's expression became a little fearful, and a hint of uneasiness flashed in Lanru's eyes. Although he was very confident in Ning Qi, the celestial devil patriarch of the Lucifer tribe had accumulated his power for a long time. When Lanru first followed Pain, the celestial devil patriarch was already elusive. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but feel a little frightened. Ancestor, this person is Pain's fourth disciple, Beixian. The great elder of the Lucifer tribe's elder cabinet said softly. When the sky demon ancestor of the Lucifer tribe heard this, his expression changed slightly, and he looked at Ning Qi with some surprise. That divine sense just now was yours? That's right. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. You're very strong. I may not be your opponent. The other party continued. As soon as this sentence came out, Whether it was the elder of the demon clan behind him or the group of demon clan geniuses, almost all of them fell into shock. They couldn't believe what they had just heard. Your sixth sense is still very sharp. Ning Qi's eyes showed a trace of admiration. Before the other party could speak, Ning Qi's expression turned cold. Where did the Holy Virgin go? Why did your Lucifer tribe slander my third senior sister for stealing the holy relic? If you don't give me an explanation today, I will flatten this place. How dare you? An elder of the elder cabinet glared at Ning Qi. How dare he say such rebellious words? Have mercy. Puff. Chapter 26:10. Both Loliere and Lan Rual were startled. They hadn't expected Ning Qi to be so swift and decisive. In the blink of an eye, he had killed an Earth Devil subordinate right in front of a Celestial Devil ancestor. Wan Li, Zhu Feng, and the others were even more afraid when they saw this scene. No matter how stupid or unwilling they were, they now understood that Lan Rual wasn't lying. Ning Qi had really become a Celestial Devil. The elders of the Lucifer tribe looked at the ashes on the ground. There was still some anger in their eyes, but none of them chose to fly into a rage at this moment. This was because what their ancestors said just now was like a sword hanging over their heads. I don't know where she went. As for our tribe's sacred relic that you mentioned, it was indeed stolen. However, I still haven't found any traces of the person who stole the sacred relic. After a moment of silence, the Celestial Devil ancestor of the Lucifer tribe slowly opened his mouth and said. Wan Li and Zhu Feng's expressions turned extremely gloomy. Whether it was the supreme talents of the demon clan beside them or the group of elders behind the Celestial Devil ancestor, some of them lowered their heads guiltily. The sacred relic of the Lucifer tribe was indeed stolen. However, until now, there wasn't an accurate explanation. Even their Celestial Devil ancestor couldn't find out who the person who stole the sacred relic was. However, this didn't stop the people below from putting the blame on the person they wanted to kill. However, this time, they might have put the blame on the wrong person. Ning Qi looked at him indifferently. After a while, he made up his mind and nodded. It seems like you really don't know where Aunt Sword went. As for Davis and Lu Donghe going to Yen Mountain City and framing my Shi Peiyan for ordering the spider pattern to steal the sacred relic, this has nothing to do with you, right? I will give you an explanation for this matter. The other party sighed. I will take these two people with me first. I hope your explanation can be delivered to Yen Mountain City in the near future. Ning Qi smiled faintly. He then extended his hand and grabbed at Wan Li and Zhu Feng. The two of them were unable to resist and their limbs were crushed by Ning Qi. Seeing that, Loliere and Lan Rual immediately went forward and picked them up. Wan Li and Zhu Feng finally reacted. Enduring the sharp pain in their limbs, they looked at the Celestial Devil ancestor in fear. Ancestor, save us. Goodbye. Ning Qi smiled faintly and strode out. When the elders of the Lucifer tribe saw that their ancestor had stepped aside slightly to make way, how would they dare to stop Ning Qi and the others? They just watched Ning Qi and the others swagger out of the door. No matter how Wan Li and Zhu Feng howled and begged for mercy, not a single demon dared to stand up for them. This was because they had already smelled a hint of blood from the conversation between Ning Qi and their ancestor. Patriarch, Patriarch. Fifth elder died just like that? The great elder of the Elder Pavilion could not help but whisper after Ning Qi and the others left. There seemed to be a trace of anger in his tone. Isn't it all because of you? Fifth elder dying is better than me dying. The heavenly devil ancestor of the Lucifer tribe faintly said. When everyone heard this, the fear in their hearts increased to the extreme. Why did their old ancestor already think that the other party had the ability to kill him? You deal with the matter regarding Yen Shan City. After you're done, send the heads to Yen Shan City. After saying that, he looked in the direction where Ning Qi left and gently touched his forehead. It was a little wet because he was scared by Ningqi just now. He had been a heavenly devil for so many years, but he had never been scared like this. However, when facing Ningqi, he had a premonition that Ningqi could kill him with just a light move. He chose to believe in his premonition instead of fighting with Ningqi. Martial nephew Beixian, there must be some secret behind the disappearance of the Holy Virgin of the Lucifer tribe. Why do you believe that person's words so much? With his strength as a heavenly devil, how could the Holy Virgin go missing in the Lucifer tribe? Lawyer asked while carrying Wanli. Wanli and Zhu Feng no longer begged for mercy because they knew that they could not escape this time. Unless their master spared their lives for old time's sake, they would not have any chance in front of Ningqi. Rather than provoking him and giving him an excuse to kill them, it was better to be obedient and return to Yanshan City to receive their punishment. Because he did not dare to. It's very simple, because he did not dare. Ningqi smiled, but he was pondering in his heart. There were only two possibilities for Jian Shilai to disappear under the nose of the heavenly devil. First, Jian Shilai left by himself. Second, there was an existence at least at the golden immortal stage who took action. No matter which possibility it was, he needed to find a clue to continue the investigation. Otherwise, there would be no direction, so Ningqi did not leave the Lucifer tribe immediately. This is the Holy Virgin Mansion. Lawyer saw Ningqi's footsteps suddenly stop in front of a mansion. He looked up and saw the three big words, Holy Virgin Mansion. Wait for me for a moment. Ningqi smiled at the two of them and walked into the Holy Virgin Mansion. The restrictive spell at the gate collapsed automatically after touching Ningqi, and the gate slowly opened. Jian Shilai had been missing for 10 years. In these 10 years, there was no new Holy Virgin in the Lucifer tribe. All the people in the Holy Virgin Mansion were also temporarily isolated. At this moment, the huge Holy Virgin Mansion was empty. After 10 minutes, Ningqi walked out of the Holy Virgin Mansion. Are there any clues? Lawyer asked. There are no clues at all. Ningqi shook his head. The Holy Virgin Mansion was too clean, so clean that it seemed to have been cleaned up. Even if Jian Shilai had left any clues, they would have been erased. The one who did all this was not the Skyfiend of the Lucifer tribe. Otherwise, the other party would not have left a trace under the atmosphere deliberately created by Ningqi. Yanshan City. The Demon King Mansion. Ningqi and the others didn't hide their tracks. Therefore, when Lawyer carried Wanli and Lan Ruo carried Zhu Feng and followed Ningqi into Yan Mountain City, all the major clans knew about them. They all walked to the side of the street and witnessed this shocking scene. Wanli and Zhu Feng hid in the Lucifer tribe and were both caught. Even the Lucifer tribe has to bow down to this young Master Beixian's strength? An emotion called fear grew in everyone's heart. When Wanli and Zhu Feng saw the familiar plaque and the familiar figure, they finally couldn't help but tremble. Fierce and angry eyes fell on the two of them, wishing they could peel off their skin and break their bones. Master, fortunately, I did not fail you. Ningqi cupped his hands and smiled. You have worked hard. Pain smiled and nodded. The gratified look in his eyes was a chilling, killing intent in Wanli and Zhu Feng's eyes. Chapter 26:11. Master, Zhu Feng wanted to say something but stopped. His eyes revealed a trace of regret. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have been persuaded by Wanli and chose to betray Pain. It was all because of Davis and Lu Donghe's illusory promise. Master, we know our mistakes. It's all our fault for being deceived by Davis and Lu Donghe. We were blinded by greed and made such a big mistake. Fortunately, fourth junior brother woke us up in time. We already know our mistakes. Let us face the wall and reflect on our mistake. Whether it's 1,000 years or 10,000 years, we're all willing. Wanli's face revealed a look of remorse. A trace of mockery flashed in Ningqi's eyes. Compared to Wanli, Zhu Feng's expression was more sincere. As for Wanli, he was still full of lies. On the surface, he admitted his mistake, but in his heart, he didn't show any sign of repentance. Back then in the Devil Race's genius battle, you all secretly acted against Bei Xian. I told you all to return to the Devil King Manor and go into seclusion for 100 years. In the end, your heart was filled with hatred and you ran to the Lucifer tribe to slander me, wanting to kill me. Now, if I want you to face the wall for 1,000 years or even 10,000 years, what will you do? The corners of Payne's mouth rose slightly. Although there was no trace of anger in his tone and he was smiling at the two of them felt a chill in their hearts. Do you know why I asked your fourth junior brother to capture all of you alive? Payne continued. Master must be giving us a chance to change. Wanli looked at Payne with a pleading look in his eyes. No, I just want to personally send you on your way. Only then will I be able to vent the anger in my heart. Payne smiled. Then, under the horrified gazes of Wanli and Zhu Feng, he walked in between them and gave each of them a palm strike, directly exploding their heads. The headless corpse immediately lost its life force. Seeing this, Luriel and Lanruo let go of the corpse, letting it fall limply to the ground. Everyone who saw Payne kill Wanli and Zhu Feng had different expressions on their faces. Some were happy, some were terrified. This was because at least 30% of the people here were related to Wanli and Zhu Feng in some way. How's the progress of this trip to the Lucifer tribe? Payne asked Ningqi without looking at the two corpses. Ningqi recounted the trip to the Lucifer tribe, wanting to hear Payne's thoughts. Originally, I wanted to keep you in the mansion for a few more days, but now it seems that I can't. Go, the Saintess has already been missing for 10 years, and all kinds of clues are slowly disappearing. The more time passes, the harder it will be to find her. Remember, besides you, I only have this disciple Spider Vane. Bring her back, me. Payne said. Master, Martial Uncle, I will take my leave first. If there is any news, I will return to Yen Mountain City. Ningqi nodded. With a slight movement of his body, he disappeared. After Ningqi left, all the forces were relieved. Ningqi didn't hide anything just now, including the conversation between him and Payne. When this group of guys learned that Ningqi dared to kill Lucifer tribe's celestial devil ancestor in front of him, they were terrified of Ningqi. His fear had reached its peak. Some of you have a good relationship with Wanli and the others. I'll give you one day. Come see me tomorrow morning. I hope you won't disappoint me. Payne casually swept his gaze around before returning to the Devil King's manor. Uriel's gaze landed on some people. He sneered and led Lanruo and the others into the Devil King's manor. Then, the gate slowly closed. Those who were glanced at by Uriel only felt a chill in their hearts. They had used Wanli and Zhu Feng's relationship to obtain a lot of benefits over the years. Payne's words were already very clear. If they didn't spit out enough tomorrow, perhaps they would have to face the same fate as Wanli and Zhu Feng. But Jian Shilai, at that time, Ningqi's cultivation was too low, so he didn't know how big the Immortal Penitentiary was. This time, he spent a month exploring the entire Immortal Penitentiary. Whether it was the danger zones that human devils and earth devils didn't dare to enter, or the various dangerous places, nothing could stop Ningqi's footstep. However, Jian Shilai, Spider Vane, and North Moon Lingqiu seemed to have left the immortal prison. There was no trace of them at all. The immortal prison was not particularly large. It was equivalent to a province on the ancestral planet at most, and it was even slightly smaller. Whether it was the Skyfiends out in the open or the Skyfiends that had reached the end of their lifespans and were in hiding in an attempt to break through to a higher realm, Ningqi saw all of them. There were a total of 21 of them. However, there were only a dozen or so of them. They had no idea that their whereabouts had already been discovered by Ningqi. They thought they had hidden themselves very well. However, even though Ningqi had found these little rats, he could not find the three women. In the extreme north of the immortal prison there was an island. Within the thick mist, the words Mirage Sea City could be vaguely seen. Half a month ago, Ning Qi had passed by this place. Back then, Ning Qi had not alerted anyone. He only checked to see if there were any traces of the three women before leaving. This time, Ning Qi directly flew into Mirage Sea City and locked onto the mid-Skyfiend ancestor of the Mirage Sea tribe with his soul sense. In the center of Mirage Sea City, an old man who was about to be buried suddenly opened his eyes. His flesh and blood were about to dry up. The physical bodies of the demon race were terrifying to begin with, and this situation almost never happened. However, the demon race was about to reach the end of their lifespans. The old man slowly walked out of his place of seclusion. Outside the door stood two much younger demons, but their chi and blood were not as strong as before. Clearly, they had lived for a very long time, and their cultivation was around the late stage of the earth demon. Master. The two looked at the old man in shock. How many years had it been since they last saw the old man leave his place of seclusion? After all, with their master's current state, every step he took consumed a little of his lifespan. A guest has arrived. Get ready and take out that stone. The old man smiled. A guest. The two were stunned for a moment and then reacted. Could it be that a Skyfiend had come to Mirage Sea City? One of them quickly left, while the other went forward to support the old man and looked around. Senior, you have lived for a very long time, right? A voice suddenly sounded. Chapter 26:12. When the old man's late earth demon disciple heard this, he was extremely shocked. He couldn't believe that Ning Qi was a sky demon. However, these words had come from his master's mouth, and Ning Qi had appeared so silently. Other than a sky demon, there was no other explanation. This person looks unfamiliar and so young. He must have advanced to the sky demon stage in recent years, but the late-stage earth demon disciple had a doubt. Those who could advance to the sky demon stage were all 1 in a million geniuses. Then, this person should have been extremely famous when he was in the earth demon stage, right? Senior is too polite. Ning Qi smiled. Don't call me senior. I don't deserve it. Your cultivation is probably not weaker than the one from the Lucifer tribe. Just call me Mirage Sea. How should I address you, little friend? Ancestor Mirage Sea smiled. Ning Qi. Ning Qi smiled. Little friend Ning, you must have come to my Mirage Sea City to witness the complete battle of immortals and demons, right? Ancestor Mirage Sea smiled. That's right. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. My second disciple has already gone to get it. Please wait a moment, little friend Ning. Ancestor Mirage Sea said. After a while, another disciple of Ancestor Mirage Sea hurried over, holding a light blue stone in his hand. He was stunned when he saw Ning Qi, but immediately understood that this person should be the guest his master had mentioned. Master, the immortal demon stone is here. He respectfully held the stone and said, Little friend Ning, please touch the immortal demon stone with your finger. The scene inside can only be opened by my Mirage Sea tribe's special method. Ancestor Mirage Sea smiled at Ning Qi. Ning Qi raised his hand and gently placed it on the immortal demon stone. To him, Ancestor Mirage Sea was already an old man on his last breath. With Ning Qi's strength, he was not afraid that the other party had some tricks or set up some kind of trap. When Ning Qi's palm touched the immortal demon stone, Patriarch Mirage Sea raised his hands. 2 light blue pillars of light shot out from his palms and landed on Ning Qi's body. Immediately after, Ning Qi's pupils turned blue, as if there was an ocean rippling in them. The 2 disciples of Fantasy Sea Ancestor heaved a sigh of relief. The eldest disciple first looked at Ning Qi, then looked at Fantasy Sea Ancestor and said, Master, why would a heavenly devil stage cultivator suddenly appear in this world? There's something strange about this. He wasn't transmitting his voice, as if he wasn't afraid that Ning Qi would hear him. I can feel that this boy is very young. Perhaps his age is younger than the two of you, but his cultivation is already at the great perfection of the heavenly demon realm. The depth of his cultivation is even greater than that of the one from the Lucifer tribe. In addition, this boy also has a trace of chi that makes me uneasy. It's been a very, very long time since I've had this feeling. This person cannot be provoked. Patriarch Mirage C looked at Ning Chi solemnly as he said indifferently. When his two disciples heard this, there was a trace of surprise on their faces. They didn't expect that he would give such a high evaluation of Ning Chi. They thought that he was just being polite. Ning Chi once again watched the great battle of the immortals and demons on the sea dragon. But this time, when the monkey looked at him, the scene suddenly changed. In the depths of the vast universe, Buddhas that were thousands of feet tall were sitting on golden lotuses. Among these Buddhas, one was exceptionally conspicuous because he was tens of thousands of feet tall. The surrounding Buddhas were as small as children in front of him. Their eyes were slightly closed, and incomparably mysterious scriptures floated out of their mouth. Ning Chi moved his mind and went to the side of the tallest Buddha. At this time, he found that in the middle of this group of Buddhas, there were countless howling demons trapped. Among them, the strongest demon was green all over, with sharp barbs growing from its joints. Although its body was only the size of an ordinary Buddha, its aura was not much weaker than the largest Buddha. His aura wasn't much weaker than the biggest Buddha, and it was much stronger than the Wangwei immortal emperor that Ning Chi had met before. Tathagata, it's useless for you to trap us. The demon ancestor has led an army straight to the center of your immortal world. It won't be long before the immortal world will be renamed the demon world. The people of the demon race will occupy the world that belongs to you. The greenish devilish being roared at the tallest Buddha with a ferocious look on his face, but the Buddha he referred to as Rulai completely ignored him and continued to chant scriptures from his mouth. These scriptures condensed together to form a golden barrier of light that encompassed the boundless, innumerable Buddha statues before him. Some of the demons roared and tried to break through the light shield, but as soon as their bodies touched the golden light shield, they seemed to evaporate. They only had time to let out a miserable howl before turning into a mist of blood. Although Ning Chi knew that this was an illusion, he was still a little frightened to see those demons evaporating one by one without fear of death. If the immortal world had been occupied by this group of warlike demons, perhaps even Earth would have been affected, right? Then there wouldn't have been so many things after that. This scene was clearly what the small gourd had described before. Tathagata led the Buddha of the Western Paradise to trap the commander of the demon world's fifth army and the billions of demon soldiers under his command in the battle. This green demon should be that commander, and his cultivation was also at the peak of the third step. However, compared to Tathagata, he was one level lower. A level lower. After a while, Ning Chi withdrew his gaze from these demons and carefully looked at the Buddha in front of him, who seemed to be as large as the sky. The green demon called him Tathagata, and his appearance was really similar to Ning Chi's memory. The only difference was that he was young. Very young. Just by looking at his appearance, he was probably much younger than Ning Chi, but at this moment, he had a dignified bearing. The word young seemed very inappropriate to be used on him, as if he had lived for countless years. The small gourd said that Tathagata is a cultivator at the peak of the third step. What kind of level is this realm? Ning Chi wanted to rely on the illusory scene to judge Tathagata's cultivation, but perhaps because the difference in cultivation between the two was too big, Ning Chi could only see that the other party was stronger than an immortal emperor, but he had no clue how strong he was. The demon was still trying to break the golden light shield, but these Buddhas closed their eyes and didn't listen, chanting mysterious scriptures. Both sides were in a deadlock. Time passed minute by minute. Ning Chi found that the passage of time in this illusory scene seemed to be no different from the real world. It didn't speed up or slow down. 10 years passed, and the demon soldiers were still trapped. 100 years, 500 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years. When it was almost 5,000 years, the green demon's expression was not very good, and his aura had dropped a lot, but even so, he was much stronger than the immortal Emperor Wangwei that Ningqi had seen. He kept cursing, but no matter how bad his curses were, the Buddhas around him ignored him. Perhaps chanting these scriptures was also very taxing on their bodies. Except for Tathagata, the rest of the Buddhas didn't look much better than these demons. Chapter 26:13. The Buddhas led by Tathagata were initially as calm as still water. However, perhaps due to the fact that these demons were about to be purified, a ripple appeared in their calm hearts. At that moment, 9 figures suddenly appeared in the sky above them. With an irresistible force, they chopped off the brains of hundreds of Buddhas in an instant. Tathagata finally opened his eyes when he saw this. At that moment, Ningqi saw the universe within them. The blood of the Buddhas dyed the universe red. Tathagata was also attacked by the 9 figures. Even though he wasn't killed, he couldn't continue chanting the sutra anymore. Ha ha ha! The green-robed devilish being threw his head back and laughed, and just as he was feeling quite pleased with himself, one of the 9 figures unleashed a palm toward him. A look of horror appeared on the green-robed devilish being's face, and he let out an unwilling roar as his body slowly dissipated. The remaining millions of devilish soldiers around the greenish-green devilish lord were also reduced to dust by this palm strike. The 5th devilish army had been completely annihilated. The battle was silent. The Buddhas didn't speak and merely used all sorts of mystic arts to defend against the attacks of the other party. However, their strength was far inferior compared to that of the 9 figures. One by one, the Buddhas fell and their corpses floated in the universe. In less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea, other than the countless corpses of the Buddhas, only Tathagata was left sitting cross-legged. In front of him stood 9 figures, surrounding Tathagata in the shape of a fan. I see. Tathagata sighed softly as he looked at the 9 figures. He seemed to have finally understood why there would be a shattered barrier between the immortal world and the demon world that had nothing to do with each other, resulting in the demons invading the immortal world. Since you understand, then surrender yourselves. One of the figures said faintly. Ningqi had been watching from the side the entire time. However, he couldn't see the faces of the 9 figures at all. It was as though there was a hazy white light shrouding their faces. However, Ningqi could roughly guess where they came from. There were a total of 9 imprints in this world, representing the 9 great heavenly Tao clans. Your cultivations are about the same as mine. If I was alone, perhaps I would have to surrender myself. However, have you forgotten about that monkey? The corners of Tathagata's mouth rose slightly. The 9 figures seemed to be astonished by Tathagata's words. But at the next moment, a rod came from the depths of the universe, as if it had passed through the long river of time. In less than a breath's time, it landed on their heads. Bang! Out of the 9 figures, 5 were reduced to a bloody mist on the spot. The remaining 4 did not die after the 5 figures shared the majority of the force. However, their auras were rapidly declining. Clearly, they were also heavily injured. It was a monkey with an unruly smile on his face. He stood in front of Tathagata, and although his body was smaller than Tathagata's, his aura was far superior. You bunch of bugs hiding in the dark, do you really think that I, old son, don't know of your existence? Monkey grinned. The 4 surviving figures looked at the monkey and Tathagata. Although Ningqi could not see their expressions clearly, he could tell that they seemed to be a little afraid. As expected of the existence most likely to reach the 4th step. Great sage, if you join our Tiandao family, perhaps that person will spare your life. A figure said. Cough. Tui. Monkey spat out a mouthful of phlegm, which smashed onto the figure. The figure did not seem to dare move, so he forcefully endured the thick phlegm. Tiandao family? What is the heavenly Tao? It is just a monster that is trying to control the world. It is not considered a human, an immortal, or a demon. If you want me to join such a monster, I might as well sleep at the foot of the mountain for another 50,000 years. Monkey laughed disdainfully. The four opponents did not speak again, and the atmosphere was a little silent. Ning Qi watched this scene with a solemn expression. Monkey had killed 5 of them with one strike. Why did he not strike a second time? It was obviously related to the death of him and Tathagata in this battle. Actually, you know that you will definitely die by coming here today. Why did you come? A voice that could not be identified as male or female sounded in the void. When the 4 figures heard this, they bowed slightly, as if they were bowing respectfully. When Ning Qi heard this voice, his eyes lit up. The owner of this voice was most likely the one that the small gourd had mentioned, the only existence from the Tiandao family who had reached the 4th step. He finally knew why the monkey had died and why Gautama had died. Because you have the intention to destroy Buddhism. I, old son, am the victorious fighting Buddha of the Western heaven. Since I know what you are thinking, how can I not come out of fear? Why don't you have a taste of my strike? Monkey swung his rod at the sky. He had prepared this strike for a long time. This was also the reason why he did not strike a second time. He wanted to leave it for the other party. Just as Ning Qi thought that the other party would appear because of this strike, the monkey suddenly turned into a piece of blue stone. Even the rod in his hand shattered inch by inch, scattering into the universe. When the 4 figures saw this, they lowered their bodies even more. Since you came from a stone, then turn into a stone and leave. The voice sounded again, calm and emotionless. Tathagata sighed and looked into the void. Does he know that you will come here today? Of course he doesn't. I have arranged some means to hold him back for a period of time. That is why I can come here. The voice sounded again. You arranged it? There seemed to be a hint of disdain in Tathagata's laughter. If it wasn't for that monster behind you, you might be nothing today. After saying that, before the voice could be heard, Tathagata suddenly revealed a smug smile. This kind of emotion could only appear on a mortal's face. However, at this moment, it appeared on Tathagata's face. The 4 figures seemed to sense that their lives were in danger and turned to flee. However, the moment they turned, beams of white light were released from Tathagata's body. The dazzling white light almost filled the entire place. When the white light dissipated, the blue stone left behind by Monkey, the 4 figures, and Tathagata himself had all disappeared. After a while, the voice in the void sounded again. This time, there was a hint of an extremely obscure emotion. It was anger. Reincarnation of 10,000 realms. So you have been guarding against this all along. The white light was the reincarnation of 10,000 realms. However, the reincarnation of 10,000 realms that could not be activated by humans had been activated by Tathagata at this moment. The owner of the voice knew the reason immediately. Amidst his anger, there was an indescribable emotion. Chapter 26:14. Patriarch Mirage C looked at Ning Qi with a smile. Young friend Ning, were you shocked by the scene inside? Back then, when the Mirage C tribe had just obtained this immortal demon stone, he had also been shocked by the scene inside. Therefore, Ancestor Mirage C did not hide this matter, and allowed all the sky fiends in the world to come and take a look, in order to verify how real those scenes were. I've never seen or heard of those demons. Ning Qi nodded lightly. That's right. Any one of the demons in the scene is much, much stronger than us. If these scenes are real, then our demon race must have been extremely prosperous a long time ago. Patriarch Mirage C nodded. How many stones like this are there? Ning Qi asked, looking at the immortal demon stone. Patriarch Mirage C was taken aback. A hint of suspicion flashed in his eyes. He seemed to have guessed Ning Qi's motive. Ning Qi waited quietly for 5 breaths of time. Patriarch Mirage sighed and said, "When we first discovered the immortal demon stones, they were all small pieces. This one is the most complete. It's not worth much. If young friend Ning wants it, you can have it." "Master." The two disciples of Ancestor Mirage were stunned for a moment, then looked at Ancestor Mirage in disbelief. Although these immortal demon stones had no value, the scene inside was extremely shocking. If they were to give it away like this, wouldn't the people of Mirage Sea Tribe have no chance to see it in the future? "Thank you, Senior. This longevity pill should be able to increase your lifespan." Ningqi put away the immortal demon stone and entered the merit tower. He used 30 merit points to exchange for a longevity pill that could increase a Skyfiend's lifespan by 2 epoch. Such longevity pills were not rare in the immortal realm, because there was a limit. A Skyfiend could at most use 3 to 5, and then there would be no effect. However, Ningqi usually did not have any reserves, so he could only exchange for it in the merit tower. The price was much higher. Longevity pill? Patriarch Mirage stood rooted to the ground, looking at the pill in Ningqi's hand in confusion. There were pills that could increase lifespan in this world? The devil race was good at fighting, and their bodies were extremely strong. However, when it came to refining treasures and pills, they were far behind immortals. In this world, something like the longevity pill was unheard of. Ningqi smiled and nodded. After leaving behind the longevity pill, he left. As for whether Patriarch Mirage dared to consume it or not, that had nothing to do with Ningqi. "Master, this person's origins are mysterious. Could this pill be dangerous?" The two disciples of Patriarch Mirage were somewhat worried because Ningqi had openly asked for the immortal demon stone. The two of them did not have a good impression of Ningqi, but they did not dare to show their hostility. After Ningqi left, there was naturally no need to hide their thoughts. "Master's lifespan is nearing its end. With little friend Ning's strength, it would be easy for you to kill me. Why go around in circles and poison me?" Ancestor Mirage smiled and threw the longevity pill into his mouth. His two disciples were a little nervous when they saw this. Not long after, the demonic aura in Ancestor Mirage's body swept out and enveloped him. When the demonic aura dissipated, Ancestor Mirage looked much younger. "Congratulations, Master!" The two of them could not contain their joy. Their impression of Ningqi instantly improved. What immortal demon stone! Those were all external objects. As long as their master's lifespan could be restored, they were willing to spend any immortal demon stone. After all, other than watching those illusory scenes, the immortal demon stone had no other use. Feeling the surging vitality in his body, Ancestor Mirage's lips curled up slightly. He bowed deeply in the direction Ningqi had left. These days, the Mirage Sea Tribe's scattered demons all encountered a strange matter. The immortal demon stone in their hands had all disappeared. This matter made these demons on tenterhooks. In the end, they chose to return to Mirage Sea City to report this matter. However, after they entered the city, they received an order from Ancestor Mirage Sea. He ordered that he would not pursue the matter of the immortal demon stone's disappearance. On the peak of a barren mountain, Ningqi opened his right palm. On it, other than the immortal demon stone from Ancestor Mirage Sea, there were many other small pebbles. If this was formed from a monkey's body, then it only takes up an extremely small portion. Ningqi frowned and pondered. These blue stones might be the key to the monkey's rebirth. This was only Ningqi's premonition. As for how to rebirth, he had no clue at all. Ningqi's mind moved slightly. All the blue stones entered his sea of consciousness, bathing in the endless immortal qi. Since he had no clue, he would let nature take its course. This was Ningqi's simplest idea. After doing all this, Ningqi once again headed to the Lucifer tribe. The traces of Jian Shilai and the other two seemed to have been erased. Ningqi had searched for so many days, but there was no clue at all. He once suspected that it was Jiang Yu's doing. However, even Ning Qi did not believe it. No matter how powerful Jiang Yu was, how would he pay attention to Jian Shilai and the other two? A day later, Ning Qi once again found the celestial devil ancestor of the Lucifer tribe. Your Excellency, have you found traces of the saintess? The other party did not seem surprised to see Ning Qi. He asked with some concern. Even I was almost fooled by you. Ning Qi laughed self-deprecatingly. The other party was stunned for a moment and revealed a trace of surprise on his face. Your Excellency, what do you mean? I believe that you really don't know why Aunt Sword disappeared. I think you have thought about this for a long time in the past 10 years, but you still can't figure it out. Therefore, you didn't reveal anything in front of me that day. Ning Qi said with a smile. Your Excellency, you have obviously misunderstood something. The other party sighed. Misunderstanding? I almost forgot that you are the ancestor of the Lucifer tribe. Without your tacit consent, how could your subordinates dare to attack Yanshan City? Perhaps even they thought that you didn't know about this and were secretly delighted. Ning Qi smiled and revealed a trace of mockery in his eyes. You clearly know the relationship between Yanshan City and the Saintess, but you allowed your subordinates to attack. There is something wrong with this. Before Aunt Sword disappeared, she fell out with you, right? Am I right? Swoosh. The other party decisively soared into the sky and wanted to leave. However, he found that Ning Qi appeared above his head and looked at him with some mockery. Ning Qi stepped on his head, and the huge force made him directly crash into the ground like a falling plane. The commotion immediately caused countless figures to flock over, looking at Ning Qi with incomparable terror. Chapter 26:15. Your Excellency, don't go too far. Seeing that Ning Qi had beaten his old ancestor like this, the great elder of the Elder Cabinet suppressed the anger in his heart and whispered, All of you retreat. Old ancestor? Retreat! Yes. The surrounding devils retreated like flowing water. In fact, except for a few people, the rest of the devils had long wanted to retreat. Even their old ancestor was no match for that guy. If they stayed here, they would be courting death. Haha, I really can't hide it from you. Yes, I really don't know how the Saintess disappeared under my nose, but I have some clues as to why she disappeared. But if I tell you, you will still kill me. If I don't tell you, you will still kill me. Why should I tell you? The great ancestor of the Lucifer tribe climbed out of the pit and looked at Ning Qi fearlessly. I know you. More than 1,000 years ago, you weren't even a human demon. Now you are a great perfection heavenly demon like me, and your means are stronger than mine. You should have found something bigger than this place. Are there many devils who are far beyond the heavenly devil stage on the broken pieces of the continent? Do you want to know? Ning Qi looked at him with a smile. Under the fearless expression of the old ancestor, there was an inexplicable emotion. It was a kind of uneasiness. Yes. The old ancestor nodded decisively. Tell me what you know, and I will tell you what I know. Even if I have to kill you, at least you can know more secrets between heaven and earth before you die. Ning Qi smiled. After a moment of silence, the old ancestor suddenly smiled and nodded. Okay. My tribe's holy relic was indeed stolen. I suspect that the one who stole it was the Saintess. But this is just a suspicion. My tribe's holy relic is a legend. It is said that as long as a devil can understand it, he can obtain supreme strength, comparable to the legendary devil ancestor who created our devil race. What's the name of that holy relic? Hearing the two words, devil ancestor, Ning Qi's heart moved slightly. Devil ancestor's heart. The old ancestor smiled. This is not only a legend, but also a joke. Devil ancestor? How can there be such an existence in this world? I absolutely don't believe that such a huge devil race would be created by a single devil. If so, how can we have our own ideas, how can we have our own will? The heart of the demon ancestor, Ning Qi, never thought that his advancement quest item would be related to the disappearance of Jian Shi. As a result, the two things had become one. Looking at the disdainful look on the other party's face, Ning Qi laughed inwardly, but his expression did not change. Since even you don't think that your clan's holy relic is useful, why would Aunt Jian steal it? As I said, this is just a suspicion. In the early years, the Holy Maiden had a little interest in the heart of the demon ancestor. Although this thing is a holy object, it only obtained such a status after being passed down from generation to generation. I was the first chosen one in the Lucifer tribe from the beginning of the human-demon stage. I have the qualification to understand it. When I reached the sky demon great perfection, it was still no different from an ordinary stone. If there was anything different, it would be that it looked like a heart. Therefore, when the saintess wanted to see this demon ancestor's heart, I naturally wouldn't stop her. The demon ancestor's heart was placed in the most conspicuous place in the tribe. Even if it was an ordinary elder or a demon from other tribes, I allowed them to see it, but one day, I realized that the saintess wanted to take it away from Lucifer's tribe. Sunset. So? Ning Qi's eyes moved slightly. So, I took back the demon ancestor's heart and had people watch over the saintess' residence, not letting the saintess leave this place. Although this holy object is useless to me, it is a holy object after all. If it is lost, how can the Lucifer tribe keep its face? However, I didn't expect that the next day she disappeared. Along with her maidservant North Moon Lingqiu, your third senior sister Spider Mark, and the demon ancestor's heart. At this point, there was a hint of unwillingness in the other party's tone, as if he also realized that the demon ancestor's heart was not as useless as he thought. I've already told you the cause and effect of the matter. The other party looked at Ning Qi. Although he tried his best to hide it, Ning Qi could still see the anticipation in the depths of his eyes. The immortal world. Ning Qi glanced at him, moved slightly, and disappeared on the spot. This time, he was sure that the other party did not hide anything. Jian Shilai's disappearance should be related to the demon ancestor's heart, so Ning Qi did not plan to kill him. Speaking of which, Jian Shilai had been thrown into the immortal prison by Dao Yen. If it wasn't for this person, he might have been demonized a long time ago. The most important thing now was to find Jian Shilai and the others. There was one thing that Ning Qi had overlooked, and the little gourd had not specifically mentioned it. There were actually 2 fourth-step cultivators in the immortal world. In that case, there were naturally such existences among the demons who dared to invade the immortal world. It was very likely that it was the legendary demon ancestor. How terrifying was the heart left behind by a fourth-step existence! It had stayed in the Lucifer tribe for so many years without any special circumstances. This time, it had disappeared with Jian Shilai and the others. It was very likely that for some reason, the demon ancestor's heart had begun to change. The immortal world? The celestial fiend patriarch of the Lucifer tribe stood on the spot in a daze. After a while, a smile appeared on his face. So the scene in the immortal demon's stone is real. There really are immortals in this world. After Ning Qi left the Lucifer tribe, he spent another month walking around this world, but he did not find any clues related to Jian Shilai or the demon ancestor's heart. Suddenly, Ning Qi's expression changed slightly. He took out the All-Heaven talisman and saw that in his friend list, the little fairy who loves to eat spicy strips was constantly flashing. Little fairy who loves to eat spicy strips. Bei Xian, we have already left the god's tomb. Where are you? Ning Qi looked at the time of the message and frowned slightly. This message had just been sent, which meant that Li Xian and the others had only just left the god's tomb, but he had already appeared in the immortal prison for a few months. With a thought, Ning Qi replied with a message. The king sent me to patrol the mountain. I'm in another place. How long have you guys been away from the god's tomb? Little fairy who loves to eat spicy strips. I just left the god's tomb. This time, only half of the 500,000 to 600,000 immortals who entered the god's tomb came out. Your Xianjian sect leader, old man Xianjian, also did not appear, didn't appear. Chapter 26:16. After chatting with Li Xian through the All-Heaven Talisman for a while, Ning Qi quickly put away the All-Heaven Talisman. His inexplicable arrival in the immortal prison was probably related to his advancement mission. Perhaps all of this had been arranged by the system. What worried Ning Qi the most was that mysterious Sword Elder was not sent back to the divine tomb with the others. Ning Qi found it strange that mysterious Sword Elder had been sent back to the divine tomb with the others. Mysterious Sword Elder had always given Ning Qi a mysterious feeling. He did not believe that he would die during this time's journey. Unfortunately, he was too far away from the ancestral star. Even if he wanted to investigate this issue, he would have to return to the ancestral star. Right now, he was preparing to leave the immortal prison. System, I want to return to Fangsuan Mountain. 3 million dragon-slaying crystals will be deducted from the host. Deduct it. Ning Qi smiled nonchalantly. He had tens of millions of dragon-slaying crystals now, and it had been a long time since he had spent them. Ning Qi probably would not have many opportunities to use the dragon-slaying crystals in the future. The items in the dragon-slaying mall were of little value to Ning Qi now. Only the merit hall was worth it. He was looking forward to it, but the difficulty of obtaining merit points was much higher than the dragon-slaying crystals. A mysterious feeling surged in Ning Qi's heart. A moment later, the scenery before Ning Qi changed. After so many years, he had once again appeared in Fangsuan Mountain. Ning Qi frowned and looked into the distance. That was where the War God Hall, the Wang family, and the Blood Puppet Race were. He could sense countless auras, but he did not see the group of people he was most familiar with, including Fang Lingming. None of them seemed to be in Fangsuan Mountain. In Fangsuan Mountain, the 5 Ninth Tribulation Masters with the highest cultivation were the 5 Ninth Tribulation Creation Masters. Their strength was comparable to 10x and the others, and they were all Yuan venerate existences. However, Ning Qi wasn't familiar with these 5 people at all. Apart from them, Nuwa did not seem to be in Fangsuan Mountain either. Who are you? Why are you in Fangsuan Mountain? A shocked voice rang out behind Ning Qi. Ning Qi turned around and saw a young lady who looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Her body exuded the aura of a battle dan, and her eyes were filled with shock and fear as she looked at Ning Qi. Ning Qi glanced at the little girl's attribute panel and found that her name was Wang Hui. If he was not mistaken, she should be a descendant of the Wang family. At this moment, countless figures broke through the sky and instantly surrounded Ning Qi. Among this group of people were Do-Dan Realm Cultivators, Eternal Life Realm Cultivators, Law Phase Realm Cultivators, and a few Masters of Creation. All of them were unfamiliar faces, and they were looking at Ning Qi with shock and anger, as though they were looking at him with hatred. The appearance of a stranger on Fangsuan Mountain was incomparably shocking. One of the Wang clan's Masters of Creation shouted at Ning Qi, "Who are you? How did you appear in Fangsuan Mountain? Where is the great sage Xianzhen? Where's Dongfang Haojie?" Ning Qi smiled. "How dare you? Who are you? How dare you call the Hall Master of the Divine War Hall by his name?" A creator from the War God Temple was enraged. If it weren't for the fact that they were shocked by how Ning Qi managed to arrive at Fangsuan Mountain, and that they couldn't see through Ning Qi's cultivation, and that they wanted to buy time for the 5 strongest experts of Fangsuan Mountain to arrive, they would have long since attacked and suppressed Ning Qi. That's strange. I haven't been gone for too long. How come I don't see any familiar faces? Ning Qi didn't answer the question and muttered to himself. Logically speaking, even if Fang Lingming and the others weren't at Fangsuan Mountain, some of the juniors in Fangsuan Mountain should recognize him. But not only did this group of people not recognize him, he also didn't seem to have seen them before. "I haven't been gone for too long," Ning Qi's muttering was heard by everyone, and they all had a strange look on their faces. Could this person be one of them? Who is the current Wang clan master? Who is the current hall master of the War God Temple? And who is the current clan master of the blood puppet race? Ning Qi asked. "Who are you?" The Wang clan's creator frowned and his eyes were filled with doubt. "Ning Beixian," Ning Qi said indifferently. "Ning Beixian?" When the crowd heard this, their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. "Ancestral Patriarch Beixian? North Mystic Celestial Emperor? Hall Master?" The three creators who represented the Wang clan, the War God Temple, and the blood puppet race looked at Ning Qi in shock. At this moment, the 5-9 Tribulations creators appeared in front of the crowd, followed by all the disciples of the Wang clan, the War God Temple, and the Blood Mantis clan. They surrounded Ning Qi in the middle of the crowd. After the 5-9 Tribulation creators saw Ning Qi's face, they looked at each other and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, North Mystic Immortal Emperor." North Mystic Immortal Emperor? When the people who came later saw this, they immediately revealed expressions of shock and hurriedly bowed. The young lady from the Wang family who first noticed Ning Qi was constantly looking at Ning Qi curiously. "The five of you know me?" Ning Qi said calmly. "I've seen the North Mystic Immortal Emperor from afar many years ago." The 5-9 Tribulation creators were excited. "I have a lot of things to know now. Meet me at the sect leaders' hall." After saying that, Ning Qi suddenly disappeared in front of everyone. The 5-9 Tribulation creators quickly flew toward the War God Temple, leaving the cultivators of the three forces behind in shock. "Is that really the North Mystic Immortal Emperor? I never thought I would be able to see the North Mystic Immortal Emperor in my lifetime. I'm so excited. Our Wang clan's North Mystic Immortal Ancestor is back. If we are lucky enough to receive his guidance, we will also have a chance to go to the deity realm." "Wang Hui, you were the first to see the Ancestral Patriarch. Did he say anything to you? Tell us." Wang Hui was regretful. If she knew this was going to happen, she wouldn't have sent the message back so quickly. The War God Temple. The sect leaders' hall. Ning Qi sat in the middle, and the 5-9 Tribulation creators stood respectfully in front of him. One by one, they told Ning Qi everything that had happened in the past few years, as if they were competing for the right to answer. "So, Ling Ming is pregnant with a girl. But why did she give it such a name? Ning Haotian. That's a boy's name, right?" Ning Qi mumbled to himself. The 5-9 Tribulations Masters of Creation knew that Ning Qi wasn't asking them, so they didn't answer. They just looked at Ning Qi curiously and excitedly. When Ning Qi left, they were just the lowest existences among the three parties, and they had never spoken to Ning Qi face to face. "It's only 3 to 5 years old, and it can already chase after Duan Yingjun. It's definitely my child." The corners of Ning Qi's lips curled up. From the 5 of them, Ning Qi learned that the elixirs he sent to Fangsuan Mountain with the rank 5 descend technique had helped them a lot. With the help of those elixirs, everyone's cultivation increased by leaps and bounds, especially his wife Fang Lingming, Dongfang Haojie and the others. They had already reached the mortal deity realm many years ago. Chapter 26:17. Ning Qi finally returned to his hometown, but he didn't see any familiar faces. He didn't even see his daughter. Ning Qi was a little disappointed. "You said that Haotian hasn't grown up all these years? What's going on?" Ning Qi asked. Out of the 5-9 Tribulations creators in front of him, 3 were from the War God Hall. They were the current substitute Hall Master Fang Zihan, the Pill Hall Master Yang Dongyu, and the Technique-teaching Hall Master Gao Yong. The other 2 were the current Wang family patriarch Wang Yunhu, and the Blood Puppet clan's current patriarch Shi Zongguang. Fang Zihan and Fang Lingming were both of the Fang clan's bloodline. The qualifications of these 5 people were very shallow. Logically speaking, when Ning Qi left, they were only Do Dan realm cultivators. According to the normal cultivation speed and the various bonuses of Fangsuan Mountain, it would be very good if they could reach the eternal life realm. In the end, Ning Qi had used the descent technique to teleport too many people. However, because Ning Qi used the descent art to teleport too many deity pills, the 5 of them became 9 tribulation creators in a short period of time. Therefore, Ning Qi didn't have much of an impression of them. They were too young for Ning Qi. Ancestral Patriarch Bei Xian, young Master Haotian, stopped growing when he was 3 years old. He maintained the appearance of a 3-year-old. Even his mind was the same. Wang Yunhu answered. A trace of worry flashed in Ning Qi's eyes. When Fang Lingming was pregnant with Ning Haotian, she had been pregnant for many years. Even when he went to the celestial world, she was still not born. Now that she was born, she was different from ordinary people. Ning Qi suspected that this might have something to do with him. All right, you can leave. Ning Qi waved his hand. The 5 of them looked at each other and hesitated. Wang Yunhu was from the Wang family, so he asked, Ancestral Patriarch Bei Xian, are you going to leave again? Mount Fangsuan will be under your care. Take good care of it. Ning Qi didn't answer Wang Yunhu's question. When the 5 of them heard this, they already knew that Ning Qi wouldn't stay on Fangsuan Mountain for long. They were slightly disappointed, but they also heaved a sigh of relief. How could Ning Qi not understand such complicated emotions? Anyone with the slightest ambition would not like someone sitting on their head. After the 5 of them left, Ning Qi sat alone in the temple for a few hours. When he left the War God's temple, he saw a group of people standing not far away, their eyes shining brightly. They were looking at Ning Qi with fear and admiration, just like the fans of the future generations chasing stars. Ning Qi sighed in his heart. There were no longer people of his generation in Fangsuan Mountain. They were all unfamiliar juniors. After he left Fangsuan Mountain and found Fang Lingming and the others, he might not return to this place in the future. Ning Qi waved his hand in a direction. Wang Hui looked at Ning Qi and then looked around. Then, she plucked up her courage and walked up to Ning Qi. Ancestral Patriarch Bei Xian, did you call me? Ning Qi didn't say anything. He just slapped Wang Hui's forehead, and then his figure moved slightly, disappearing from where he was. Wang Hui, did Ancestral Patriarch Bei Xian teach you cultivation arts? Everyone looked at Wang Hui enviously, and there was a lot of jealousy in their eyes. Wang Yunhu and the other 4, who had been paying attention to this side, looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. No, no, Wang Hui quickly shook her head. That's impossible. Wang Hui, we won't steal your opportunity. Why do you have to hide it? If not, why did Ancestral Patriarch Bei Xian slap your forehead? He must have taught you cultivation arts. Everyone was displeased. He really didn't. Wang Hui frowned and turned to leave. Some disciples who were more familiar with Wang Hui wanted to stop her, but when they thought about it, since Ning Qi had patted Wang Hui's head, Wang Hui's status was different. If they offended her and angered Ning Qi, what should they do? Thinking of this, they immediately froze on the spot and watched Wang Hui leave. At this moment, Wang Hui was trying her best to maintain her composure. Ning Qi had indeed imparted his skills to her. Moreover, there was a Qian Kuan ring in her sea of consciousness. According to Ning Qi, the items in the Qian Kuan ring should be enough for her to cultivate to the human immortal stage. Other than that, Ning Qi had handed her a responsibility. If Wang Yunhu and the other 4 acted recklessly and harmed the interests of Fangsuan Mountain, she would be responsible for cleaning up the sect. Wang Hui didn't expect Ning Qi to give her such an important responsibility. She just wanted to find a place to calm down. What do you guys think Ancestral Patriarch Bei Xian meant by that? Does he like Wang Hui's talent? Among the disciples of the Wang family, her talent seems to be average. Wang Yunhu's expression was solemn and there was a hint of worry in his eyes. Fang Zihan and the other two Nine Disaster creators of the God of War temple looked at each other and said, maybe Wang Hui was the first to notice Ancestral Patriarch's return and Ancestral Patriarch felt that he was fated to meet her? Should we go ask her? Gao Yong whispered. Ancestral Patriarch Bei Xian might not agree with us doing this. If we go and ask Ancestral Patriarch and he finds out, will we be able to withstand a palm strike from him? Wang Yunhu shook his head. Snake Zongguang, who had been silent all this while, looked at the four people in front of him with a hint of mockery in his eyes. He said indifferently, the North Mystic Celestial Sovereign is out of Fangtsuan Mountain and he will make a trip to the Central Continent. You guys better pray that the North Mystic Celestial Sovereign doesn't find out about what you did. Otherwise, hee. Snake Zongguang let out a cold laugh and left. Wang Yunhu's face turned extremely ugly and his eyes were filled with fear. Fang Zihan and the other two were the same as him, as if they were afraid that Ning Qi would find out about something. Dear Gate Celestial Dynasty. Dun City. This was the first time Ning Qi had come to the central mainland. The city he had arrived at had already changed. After passing through a small alley, Ning Qi stopped in front of a courtyard. This used to be one of the stations of the Alchemist Union. Now it was a deserted courtyard. Even the walls of the courtyard had fallen off. Even the walls were peeling off. Most of the people were gone. At this moment, two figures ran past Ning Qi in a hurry. They were two middle-aged cultivators around the early stage of the Battle Dan realm. Ning Qi could tell that the two of them were heavily injured and wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Just as Ning Qi was about to leave, the two middle-aged cultivators came back because a few figures had appeared in the direction they were running. They were slowly closing in on the two of them. In another direction, a few more figures had appeared. The aura of the Celestial Sovereign. Plop. The two middle-aged cultivators knelt on the ground and begged for mercy towards the approaching figures. Everyone, please spare us, brothers. You want to live after offending Fangtsuan Mountain? Chapter 26:18. The group of Core Do realm cultivators noticed Ning Qi. One of them shouted at Ning Qi, Fangtsuan Mountain is handling a matter. Those who have nothing to do with it get lost. Based on his past experience, once he mentioned Fangtsuan Mountain, even a creator would run away with his tail between his legs. After all, it was a force created by the North Mystic Celestial Emperor. Who would dare to offend the North Mystic Celestial Emperor in the central mainland? Which Fangtsuan Mountain are you talking about? Ning Qi smiled. They didn't expect Ning Qi to not know about Fangtsuan Mountain. This guy is playing dumb. Who in this world doesn't know about Fangtsuan Mountain? Since you don't want to leave, stay. They looked at each other. Two of them understood and walked toward Ning Qi with a sneer on their lips. Ning Qi didn't know when Fangtsuan Mountain had become so low-class. He believed that when Dongfang Haojie was acting as the representative of the Combat God Temple, he must have followed Dongfang Haojie's wishes to be low-key and do things in a high-profile manner. However, in front of him, a few Dodan realm cultivators with trash aptitude and low cultivation could actually open a shop. Talking about Fangtsuan Mountain and Fangtsuan Mountain? Whoosh. The two Dodan realm cultivators who were close to Ning Qi suddenly took out a dagger and stabbed towards Ning Qi's chest. When the dagger came into contact with Ning Qi's chest, their eyes revealed a trace of ridicule. They had thought that Ning Qi was an expert with ultimate skills. They did not expect him to be settled so easily. Suddenly, the two of them were slightly startled. They found that their daggers seemed to be stuck, unable to move an inch. It was as if they were stabbing an iron wall. But logically speaking, with their cultivation, even if it was an iron wall, they should have been able to pierce through it. Thinking of this, the two of them knew that they might have kicked an iron wall. They wanted to retreat, but they found that they couldn't control their bodies. No matter how hard they tried, their bodies seemed to be petrified and couldn't move. Soon, the two of them were sweating profusely. The two middle-aged cultivators who were being chased showed a hint of surprise in their eyes. The others also seemed to notice that something was wrong, and their expressions changed slightly. The leader who spoke first looked at Ningqi coldly and said, "It seems that you are an eternal life realm cultivator, but do you really want to become enemies with Mount Siyuan and the North Mystic Celestial Emperor? A mere Dan Do cultivator can represent the North Mystic Celestial Lord?" Ningqi smiled. With a slight thought, the two guys in front of him, who dared to pull out their daggers at him, didn't even have time to scream. They instantly turned into ashes and scattered on the ground. Go. Upon seeing this, the other party's heart trembled. He knew that Ningqi really didn't give the Fangsuan Mountain any face. It was useless to threaten him again. He could only leave as soon as possible. Ningqi didn't chase after them. Soon, several figures disappeared from Ningqi's field of vision. However, Ningqi had been following them with his divine sense, watching them enter the City Lord's mansion. The aura inside the City Lord's mansion was different from when Ningqi first arrived in Dawn City. It seemed to have changed. A group of people. "Thank you for saving our lives, Senior." The two middle-aged cultivators who were accidentally saved by Ningqi hurriedly stood up and cupped their hands towards Ningqi. A trace of gratitude appeared in their eyes. One of them said anxiously, "Senior, hurry up and leave this place with us. Mount Fangsuan is extremely powerful, and its tentacles are everywhere in the world. Once the people behind them receive the news, they will definitely leave. When the people behind them receive the news, I'm afraid the ones who are chasing after us will be even stronger." "Li Dao Dong Xiu, right?" Ningqi looked at the two of them and said faintly. The two of them looked at Ningqi in disbelief. "How did Senior know our names?" They were shocked. At the same time, they thought that Ningqi had specially come to save them. "Let me ask you. You said that the Fangsuan Mountain is extremely powerful. Their tentacles are everywhere in the world. As far as I know, the cultivators in the Fangsuan Mountain rarely reveal their identities, even when they travel the world. Who was the person who was chasing after you just now? Why was he chasing after you?" Ningqi said faintly. At this time, the few guys who were lucky enough to escape with their lives had already followed the experts from the City Lord's mansion and rushed over. "Senior, you must have been in seclusion for a period of time. You don't know the current situation," Li Dao said hurriedly. "Ever since the North Mystic Celestial Emperor ascended and left, the goddess of cold sky and the others also went to search for immortals. The Fangsuan Mountain is now under the control of someone else. Although the 300 celestial dynasties are the same as before and the perfected immortals haven't changed much, the 300 celestial dynasties have actually been controlled by the Fangsuan Mountain. These perfected immortals are all alone. We suspect that someone in the Fangsuan Mountain wants to make preparations for a new emperor. One day, the 300 perfected immortals will be replaced by the masters of the Fangsuan Mountain." "Oh, I see. They are really ambitious." Ningqi smiled. It was fine to say that Wang Yunhu and the others were stupid. After all, Fang Lingming and the others had only left for a few decades. However, the actions of Wang Yunhu and the others were not sudden. Ningqi was no longer in the central mainland, and Fang Lingming and the other experts of the older generation had all gone to search for the celestial realm. The remaining 5 Yuan venerates would naturally want to rule the world. Even a beggar would have such ambitions. In the past, Ningqi might not have cared too much about a mere title. Unfortunately, Wang Yunhu and the others did not know that the central mainland had provided Ningqi with many followers. If they lost the title of the North Mystic Celestial Emperor, these followers would be reduced by at least half in a few years. "Li Dao, Senior, let's leave quickly. The City Lord of Den City is a disciple of the Wang family from the Fangsuan Mountain. Those people just escaped and will definitely bring people to kill the three of us. Dong Xiu said anxiously. It's a little too late to leave now. An extremely handsome young man walked in front of the three of them with a smile that was not a smile. At the same time, there were many figures in the surroundings. It was unknown how many people had surrounded this place in an instant. With such a method, even a fly would not be able to fly out. Li Dao and Dong Xiu were shocked. They recognized that this young man was the current city lord of Da'an City. He was also a disciple of the Wang family. The two of them felt their legs turn to jelly. The words, disciple of the Wang family, were even more frightening than the words, Fangtsuan Mountain. After all, the Wang family of the Green Dragon continent was the maternal family of the North Mystic Celestial Emperor. Every disciple of the Wang family had the same bloodline as the North Mystic Celestial Emperor. In addition, this disciple of the Wang family was an early-stage transcendence cultivator, while the two of them were merely early-stage Battle Dan cultivators. There was a huge gap between their cultivation levels. Chapter 26:19. Interesting. They've already announced Fangtsuan Mountain's name, yet you still dare to attack them. May I know which sect you're from? Don't tell me you don't understand the logic of all lands under the sky belong to the king, and all those who lead the land belong to the king? The handsome young man sized Ning Qi up with a smile. Since when can a few Battle Dan realm cultivators use Fangtsuan Mountain as a backer? Ning Qi smiled and glanced at the young man's attributes. Wang Yanbing, a disciple of the Wang family. Wang Yanbing was slightly startled. His eyesight was better than those few Do Dan realm experts. Therefore, when Ning Qi said those words, Wang Yanbing seriously sized up Ning Qi's cultivation. In the end, he realized that he could not see through it. So, you're a creator. Wang Yanbing cupped his hands together and smiled. I'm Wang Yanbing from the Wang family. Sorry for not recognizing you. His action seemed respectful, but it was actually filled with a trace of disdain. Hearing this, Li Dao and Dong Xiu's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. They didn't expect to meet a kind-hearted senior who was actually a master of creation. In that case, their chances of survival were much higher. They only hoped that they could escape before the masters of creation from Fangtsuan Mountain arrived. So, the two of them kept signaling Ning Qi with their eyes. However, even if you're a creator, you still have to follow the rules of Fangtsuan Mountain. Did the North Mystic Celestial Emperor leave so many years ago that you've forgotten what your surname is in the central mainland? Wang Yanbing smiled. Definitely not Wang. Ning Qi smiled. Wang Yanbing was slightly startled. He didn't expect Ning Qi to be so frivolous after revealing his surname. However, Ning Qi was right. The North Mystic Celestial Emperor's surname was Ning. This was something everyone knew, so Wang Yanbing couldn't be angry over this. Maybe not long from now, my surname will be Wang. Wang Yanbing said with a faint smile. Let's not talk about this for now. How did these two offend Fangtsuan Mountain? Even a transcendence realm cultivator like you had to make a trip here. Ning Qi smiled. Wang Yanbing glanced at Li Dao and Dong Xiu indifferently, then smiled at Ning Qi and said, I heard that a subordinate had a few words with these two when he was drinking. Just a verbal conflict? Ning Qi frowned. Li Dao and Dong Xiu nodded with ugly expressions. They didn't expect that they would go to such lengths to kill the two of them just because they quarreled with each other. When the North Mystic Celestial Emperor was still around, Fangtsuan Mountain was a sacred place that we all admired. Even when the cultivators of Fangtsuan Mountain roamed the Jianghu, they didn't reveal their identities. Everything they did was worthy of praise. I didn't expect that today, just because of a few words, Fangtsuan Mountain wants to kill us. He died. Li Dao was a little angry. Things are different now. Both of you, please get over it. Since my Fangtsuan Mountain is the holy land in your hearts, we naturally have to act like one. If we can't control the world, what kind of holy land is it? Wang Yanbing sneered. Great sage Xianzhen and ancestor Wang Lin will be very angry if you do this, right? Ning Qi laughed. Wang Yanbing was slightly taken aback. When the subordinates he brought with him heard this, they subconsciously revealed a trace of fear, but they immediately reacted. These ancestors are all on the path to becoming celestials. Since we don't have the strength to go, we can only plan for ourselves. Wang Yanbing smiled. If the ancestors knew, they would understand us. Can't you tell that I'm just stalling for time after talking to me for so long? Without waiting for Ning Qi to speak, Wang Yanbing suddenly clasped his hands at the sky. Since the deer sect perfected immortal is here, help me destroy this guy's cultivation. I want to bring him back to Fangsuan Mountain. Deer sect perfected immortal? Li Dao and Dong Xiu's faces were filled with despair. A figure suddenly appeared in the sky. That figure walked down step by step and appeared before everyone. Wang Yanbing smiled and wanted to greet him, but the figure turned around and bowed at Ning Qi. Greetings, North Mystic Celestial Emperor. I haven't seen you for many years, but you are still as elegant as ever. Dear sect perfected immortal is too polite. I wonder where Brother Shen Lang is right now? Ning Qi smiled. Although the dear sect perfected immortal's expression was calm, the excitement deep in his eyes could not be concealed. He tried his best to control his voice so that it wouldn't tremble. My son was fortunate enough to be favored by the Holy Mother, and we embarked on the path to becoming celestials together. Dear sect perfected immortal, what are you talking about? Wang Yanbing forced a smile, but his voice was trembling. The group of subordinates he brought with him stood dumbfounded and looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. Why would the dear sect perfected immortal address someone as the North Mystic Celestial Emperor? Wang Yanbing, don't you understand what I'm saying? When your ancestor sees the North Mystic Celestial Emperor, why doesn't he kneel and kowtow? The dear sect perfected immortal looked at Wang Yanbing coldly with a hint of joy in his eyes. North Mystic Celestial Emperor. How is this possible? Wang Yanbing looked at Ning Qi helplessly. Li Dao and Dong Xiu were already in a state of shock, standing at the side with blank faces. Because Wang Yanbing was from the Wang family, when he conversed with the deer sect perfected immortal, he was very respectful. Even though he had broken through to the fourth tribulation master of creation, he didn't dare to be disrespectful to an early-stage transcendence realm cultivator. But today, his tone was so cold that it made Wang Yanbing feel a trace of fear. Despair. At the same time, he finally remembered that the deer sect perfected immortal had seen the North Mystic Celestial Emperor with his own eyes. You're from Wang Yunhu's branch, right? Ning Qi looked at Wang Yanbing and said indifferently. Plop. Wang Yanbing knelt on the ground, his body trembling. He said in a low voice, Greetings, North Mystic Ancestral Patriarch. Wang Yunhu is my great-grandfather. He. It seems that many of the pills I sent back to Fangsuan Mountain have landed in your hands. You're not that old this year, right? You're already at the early stage transcendence realm. If it was in the past, your cultivation speed would be enough to look down on the entire central mainland. Even I can't compare to you. Ning Qi smiled. Yanbing is 43 this year. Wang Yanbing's eyes were filled with hope. He hoped that his talent could be valued by Ning Qi. All lands under the heavens belong to the king, and all those who lead the land belong to the king. This is a good saying. However, the king in your heart isn't me, but your great-grandfather, Wang Yunhu, right? If I came back a few years later, the world would have changed its surname to Wang. Ning Qi said with a faint smile. Wang Yanbing's body bowed even lower, and he trembled even more intensely because he had indeed said this before. I was planning to meet some old friends and leave this place for you young people to mess around. Chapter 26:20. Old Ancestor, spare me! Old Ancestor, spare me! Yanbing has the same bloodline as ancestor. Please spare Yanbing's life, ancestor. Wang Yanbing's face was pale, and his lips were trembling. He kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. He was only 43 years old, but he had already reached the early stage transcendence realm. Although Ning Qi had given him some pills, his talent was still very good. He still had many unfulfilled wishes. If he died just like that, he would really regret it. He was unwilling. The dear sect perfected immortal looked on coldly. To him, this was Ning Qi's family matter. No matter how dissatisfied he was with the current Fangtsuan mountain, he wouldn't say anything now. Li Dao and Dong Xiu finally reacted. They looked at Ning Qi with shock and joy. They didn't expect that they would be able to see the legendary North Mystic Celestial Lord with their own eyes. Go back to Fangtsuan Mountain. Tell Wang Yunhu to reign in his thoughts. He's already a 9 tribulation creator. If he works harder, it won't be a problem for him to become a human immortal. As for what to do, I think he will understand. Ning Qi smiled. Wang Yanbing looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. He didn't think that Ning Qi really didn't want to kill him. After he reacted, he kowtowed 9 more times and retreated respectfully. Dear sect perfected immortal, we will meet again if fate allows it. Ning Qi smiled and disappeared on the spot in the blink of an eye. Ah! Li Dao and Dong Xiu were regretful. They missed a rare opportunity just like that. If they had knelt down just now, they might have a chance to become a disciple of the North Mystic Celestial Lord. He comes and goes without a trace. The North Mystic Celestial Lord's methods are indeed unpredictable. Looks like the legendary celestial realm really exists, the dear sect perfected immortal sighed. He was very happy to see Ning Qi today. This proved that his son, Shen Lang, might become an immortal one day and return to the central mainland. The time has come for you too. Come with me, said Yi Zichen. The dear sect perfected immortal glanced at Li Dao and Dong Xiu. The two were startled. Then, they looked at each other happily. Although they didn't get anything from Ning Qi, it was obvious that the dear sect perfected immortal planned to take them in. This was a great opportunity. Fangtsuan Mountain, War God Temple, Sect Leader Main Hall. Wang Yunhu and the other 4 looked at Wang Yanbing, who was kneeling in the middle. Snake Zongguang was the first to laugh. He stood up and said, "My blood puppet tribe has never participated in this matter, so it has nothing to do with us. You guys discuss it. The weather has been cold lately, so I will go hibernate." Before Wang Yunhu and the others could say anything, Snake Zongguang had already left. Damn it, he's already a 9 tribulations creator, and he still wants to hibernate? Gao Yong snorted coldly and looked at Wang Yunhu. What should we do now? Wang Yunhu's expression was slightly pale. He glanced at Wang Yanbing, and after 3 breaths of silence, he said, "Call all our people back. From today onwards, we will no longer interfere with the matters of the central mainland." Fine. Fang Zihan and the other 2 nodded. They could only do this now. If they did not satisfy Ning Qi, they believed that when they woke up one morning, their heads might not belong to them. In the next month, more and more figures returned to the Fangtsuan Mountain from the outside world. In the 300 dynasties of the central continent, many major characters were missing. These major characters all had important positions, and even when they disappeared, the dynasty didn't fall into chaos. It was like they had a tacit understanding and would immediately find someone to replace them. Not long after, Wang Yunhu ordered the mountain gate to be closed. Not long after, Wang Yunhu gave the order to close the mountain gates. Without permission, none of the disciples of the Fangtsuan Mountain were allowed to leave the mountain. Even if they had matters that needed to be handled in the outside world, they would be subjected to strict requirement. For a period of time, the shadow that hung over the heads of the 300 dynasties instantly dissipated. The rulers of the dynasties basically received the same news, and that was the North Mystic Celestial Emperor had returned. However, other than the deer sect perfected immortal, none of the other rulers had the luck to see Ning-Chi. Twilight Night Dan Vane. The Mind Pagoda. This time, Ning-Chi did not alarm anyone when he entered the Mind Pagoda. However, he discovered that the Mind Pagoda was no longer the same as before. Ning-Chi left the Sunset Night Pill Range in disappointment. He spent half a year walking through the massive central continent, including the old site of the Qin Tang Empire. He found many familiar people, but Ning-Chi did not show himself. These people had their own lives, and if they were lucky enough, he might be able to see them again after millions of years. Very soon, Ning-Chi had traveled to almost every corner of the central mainland, but he did not find any trace of Jian Shilai or the demon ancestor's heart. Without any hesitation, Ning-Chi left the central mainland and once again embarked on the path of immortality that he had taken before. Tianqiao Star. You bunch of demons, destroy my divine soul if you dare. Otherwise, if a wisp of my nascent soul escapes, the Tiandao sect will definitely avenge me. Ouyang Kadi's face was covered in blood, and he stood at the top of the mountain in a mess. Behind him was a cliff, and in front of him stood a few cultivators in black robes with cold expressions. Ouyang Kadi was already at the peak of the nascent soul realm, but the cultivators in black robes in front of him were at the same level as him. There was almost no difference. Ouyang Kadi, 5 of us at the peak of the nascent soul realm will join forces to kill you today. Do you still think a wisp of your nascent soul will escape? One of the cultivators in black robes said in a hoarse voice. His tone was like a cat playing with a mouse. The last time the gate of heaven opened, all the cultivators who were stronger than us were sucked into the gate of heaven. The few nascent soul realm cultivators in the Tiandao sect are no match for us. I advise you to leave behind the cultivation method you got from that person and leave. We won't kill you. Another cultivator in black robes sneered. Ha ha ha, us nascent soul realm cultivators are only considered the top 3 on Tianqiao Star. However, the last time the gate of heaven opened, nascent soul realm cultivators at the peak of Tianqiao Star were the top cultivators on the planet. You guys don't have the protection of the blood demon ancestor who is willing to be your slave. Do you really think the world will be the same as before? Today, if I'll catch your nascent soul and make you suffer for 100 years. The gate of heaven opened? There are really only nascent soul realm cultivators left on Tianqiao Star. Ouyang, what's going on? A figure suddenly appeared between Ouyang Kadi and the 5 cultivators in black robes. The 5 cultivators in black robes were shocked when they saw the figure. Then, they looked at the figure with fear. Ouyang Kadi stared at the figure in disbelief and blurted out, "Martial uncle?" Chapter 26-21. Martial uncle? Is it really you? Or did they cast an illusion on me? Ouyang Kadi had a wary look on his face. Brother Ouyang, we'll take our leave first. The 5 black-robed men cupped their fists and turned to leave. Brother Ouyang? They weren't so polite just now. Ouyang Kadi was dumbfounded. He still felt that everything in front of him might be an illusion that the other party wanted to interrogate him. Did I allow you to leave? Ning-Chi glanced at the 5 black-robed men indifferently. As soon as he spoke, the 5 black-robed men froze on the spot. Is it really not an illusion? Ouyang Kadi looked at the black-robed men and then at Ning-Chi. He finally believed that he was not affected by the illusion. He immediately said to Ning-Chi, "Martial uncle, these guys want to kill me." "I know. Tell me what's going on with the gate of heaven first." Ning-Chi smiled. Ever since he arrived at Endless Sky Star, he had noticed something amiss. In the past, Ning-Chi had to use the 3rd level of the Exploding Heart Sutra to strengthen his divine sense by a few hundred times and find the existence of the galaxy teleportation formation. Now that Ning-Chi was a perfected heaven immortal, His divine sense was more than 1,000 times stronger than before. That was why he found the galaxy teleportation formation as soon as he arrived at Endless Sky Star. The galaxy teleportation formation that led to the ancient heavenly court's immortal region was still there. Ning Qi originally planned to head to the ancient heavenly court's immortal region to see if he could meet Fang Lingming and the rest. However, he subconsciously scanned Endless Sky Star with his divine sense and realized that something was wrong. The experts on Endless Sky Star were all gone. The strongest was only at the perfected nascent soul realm. This made Ning Qi smell a trace of a strange aura. "Martial uncle, this is strange. We suspect that it has something to do with the immortal world. A few years ago, 3 women came to Endless Sky Star and there seemed to be a guy chasing after them. Later on, an extremely beautiful woman took out a stone-like object and the gate of heaven opened. Then, the heavenly gate opened, and the 3 women and the cultivator who chased after them all disappeared. Even the cultivators on Boundless Heaven Planet, including the cultivators at the Great Vehicle stage, disappeared without a trace." Ouyang Kadi said hurriedly, "What does the gate of heaven look like? Does it really look like a gate?" Ning Qi frowned. The 3 women, the cultivator who was chasing after them, and the stone. Ning Qi felt that he had found traces of Jian Shilai. That stone must be the devil ancestor's heart. If the above speculation was correct, who was chasing after them? Ouyang Kadi tried hard to recall, and smiled awkwardly. "Everyone said that it was the gate of heaven, so I said it casually. In reality, it was just a ray of white light, a light so bright that we couldn't open our eyes." Ning Qi nodded indifferently. He then looked at the 5 terrified men in black robes and smirked in disdain. "Remnants of the Dream Demon Path, say senior." The 5 of them wanted to beg for mercy, but Ning Qi waved his hand and said, "Tell me what you saw and your understanding of it." When the 5 of them saw this, they began to narrate the story one after another. Their words were similar to Ouyang Kadi's, and their own understanding was not much different. They all believed that the gate of heaven had opened, and the experts who had disappeared, the 3 women, and the cultivators who had chased them had all gone to the immortal realm. The cultivators on Boundless Heaven Planet concluded that it was the appearance of the celestial realm. Of course, the celestial realm must have something to do with the stone in the woman's hand. "Do you remember the appearance of the 3 women and the cultivators who were chasing after them?" Ning Qi said indifferently. Ouyang Kadi and the 5 men in black robes nodded in unison. How could they not remember such an important matter? "Draw it." Ning Qi smiled slightly. Ouyang Kadi was stunned for a moment. "Uncle Master, my drawing skills might be terrible." "Draw it even if it's terrible." Ning Qi glanced at him. Not long after, Ouyang Kadi and the others used the spiritual energy in their bodies to draw 4 portraits in the air. Ning Qi took a look at Ouyang Kadi's portrait and could not help but frown. "Are you drawing a cartoon?" "Cartoon? What is a cartoon?" Ouyang Kadi was slightly stunned and a hint of doubt appeared in his eyes. Could a cartoon be some kind of supernatural power? However, the 5 men in black robes were talented in drawing. They accurately drew the portraits of the 3 women and the cultivator who was chasing after them. Ning Qi was so sure because the 3 women were Jian Shilai, Spider One and North Moon Lingqiu, and the cultivator who was chasing after them was none other than Ning Qi's #1 enemy, Jiang Yu. Eunuch Zhang's cultivation is extraordinary. He was already a mystic immortal back then. Now, I'm afraid he's at least an immortal emperor. Auntie Jian and the others' cultivation is so low, how could they be chasing after him? Ning Qi mumbled to himself and a hint of doubt appeared in his eyes. With Jiang Yu's strength, he could suppress Jian Shilai and the others in a matter of minutes. It was unlikely that one of them was chasing after the other. Therefore, there was only one possibility. The demon ancestor's heart in Jian Shilai's hand was so powerful that even Jiang Yu was wary of it, because he could not kill them. "Uncle Master," Do you know them? The cultivator who was chasing after the 3 women is a eunuch? Oyankadi asked curiously. If Ning-Chi knew them, it would be easy to explain. After all, Ning-Chi had a very powerful image in Oyankadi's heart. If the other party knew Ning-Chi, they could naturally create the terrifying gate of heavens and take away all the experts of Infinite Horizon Planet. Yes, it's a eunuch. But this eunuch is quite powerful. Ning-Chi smiled and nodded. He wondered if Jiang Yu had found a way to expel the power of the silver dragon after so many years. If he couldn't expel it, he would be a eunuch for too long, an ancient great eunuch. Ha! Ning-Chi was amused when he thought of this. Oyankadi did not know why Ning-Chi was so happy, but the 5 men in black robes were even more terrified. They looked at Ning-Chi with trepidation, hoping that he would show mercy and let them go. Why are you guys still standing? Ning-Chi looked at the 5 men in black robes. Thank you, Senior. The 5 of them were overjoyed. They cupped their hands and were about to leave. You guys must have misunderstood. My exact words were, why are you guys still standing? Go and die. The corner of Ning-Chi's mouth curled up. The 5 of them were shocked and angry when they heard this. Before they could speak, Ning-Chi lightly slapped his palm and the 5 of them were burned by a ball of immortal flame. In the blink of an eye, they were turned into a pile of ashes. Thank you, Uncle Master, for helping me vent my anger. Oyankadi glanced at the ashes on the ground and hurriedly bowed to Ning-Chi as he spoke. Be more observant in the future and don't fall into such a trap again. I have something to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Chapter 26-22 Star Teleportation Formation. Ning-Chi did not dare to waste any more time on Boundless Heaven's star after knowing that Jiang Yu was chasing after Jian Shilai and the other 2 girls. Ning-Chi carefully examined the formation and finally found some clues. The gate of heaven that Oyankadi had mentioned was probably this star teleportation formation. He saw that there were already cracks in a few key places. This phenomenon proved that the formation had been overloaded some time ago. I fainted the last time I took this formation and was thrown into the 9 Sect Alliance's arena. I shouldn't be in such a miserable state now, right? Ning-Chi mumbled to himself and activated the formation. Immortal World. Ancient Heavenly Courts, Immortal Domain. Wildlands. This was a corner of the ancient Heavenly Courts, Immortal Domain, where cultivation resources were scarce. The strongest sect only had 1 or 2 heavenly immortals. If a golden immortal were to pass by this place, he or she would be considered as a peerless powerhouse. The entire Wildlands was controlled by 9 major sects and was called the 9 Sect Alliances by the Immortals. In order to gain complete control of the Wildlands, the 9 sects had all moved to the most prosperous planet in the Wildlands, which had the most cultivation resources. Based on the strength of each sect, they would split the cultivation resources on the planet, while the smaller sects could only take some of the resources from the 9 Sect Alliances. Some of the smaller sects could only get some from the 9 Sect Alliances. On this day, a white light flashed in the sky and a figure appeared on the 9 Heroes star that was controlled by the 9 Sect Alliances. This time, Ning-Chi did not faint nor was he severely injured. There was only a hint of dizziness in his mind, probably caused by the distance. Roar! A bestial roar rang out from afar. Immediately after, a gigantic monkey charged straight towards Ning-Chi. This monkey was clad in golden armor and wielded a long staff. Its body was covered in blood. Ning-Chi was in a daze when he saw this. He almost mistook this fellow for the monkey. No, the aura of this giant monkey was incomparable to that monkey. It was just a second-stage immortal beast with a cultivation base equivalent to a mid-stage earthly immortal. Behind it, there were more than 10 mid-stage to late-stage earthly immortals chasing after it. Long-armed ape, don't run anymore. Follow us back to the 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena obediently. Each of the sect leaders has already promised you that as long as you stay for another 2,000 years, you'll have the chance to become their disciple. Why do you want to break the formation and seek your own death?" A late Earth immortal sneered. Then, more than a dozen sword lights followed closely behind, speeding towards the giant monkey. The giant monkey seemed to be exhausted. It turned around and swung its cudgel, blocking 12 sword lights, but one of the sword lights couldn't be blocked, and its heart was penetrated by it. A mouthful of blood spurted out from the giant monkey's mouth. Its body, which was more than 100 feet tall, crashed to the ground with a loud bang. It was only 2 or 3 feet away from hitting Ningqi. "Even if I die in battle today, I don't want to be humiliated by you." After the giant monkey landed on the ground, he flipped over and stood up. He raised his head and roared at the earthly immortals. Blood kept flowing out from his chest, and there was a hint of gold in the blood. The giant monkey's breath was weakening rapidly. Obviously, he had been seriously injured by the sword. "You're courting death." The sword light that had penetrated through the giant monkey's heart turned around and attacked the giant monkey from its back again. The path of its attack just so happened to cover Ningqi. If the sword wanted to land on the giant monkey, it would have to pass through Ningqi's body first. The earthly immortals from the 9-sect alliances just stared at the giant monkey, not even sparing a glance at Ningqi who was standing behind it. In their opinion, there was no immortal or demon on 9 Heroes' Star who could fight against the 9-sect alliances. "Huh!" The late Earth immortal who was controlling the flying sword to stab the giant monkey frowned slightly. His gaze went past the giant monkey and landed on Ningqi. Then, he was shocked and looked at Ningqi's right hand in disbelief. His flying sword was being held in Ningqi's hand and was buzzing nonstop, but he just could not get rid of it. "Why are you interfering with the 9-sect alliance's business?" The late Earth immortal looked at Ningqi with dread and asked. The rest of the people and the giant monkey seemed to be shocked by Ningqi's means as well. To be able to catch a flying sword of a late Earth immortal barehanded, his cultivation base must be at least at the Earth immortal paramount realm. Such an existence would be a top-notch expert even on 9 Heroes' Star. "Have you forgotten? That flying sword of yours was going to kill me just now." Ningqi took a look at the inferior-grade immortal sword in his hand and sneered. This place was really lacking in resources. A dignified late Earth immortal was still using an inferior-grade immortal weapon. If he was in the Mystic Sword sect in the Ancestral Star, as long as he had a good relationship with the Elders and worked a little harder, it would not be a problem for him to use a superior-grade immortal weapon. It's just a misunderstanding. Since the misunderstanding has been resolved, please return the flying sword to me and we'll leave. This long-armed ape ran out from our 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena, so we'll have to bring its head back to report. The late Earth immortal smiled lightly. "I'll return it to you." Ningqi smiled. When the other party saw Ningqi's smile, an ominous premonition arose in his heart. In the next instant, he saw Ningqi rubbing his hands together and an inferior-grade immortal weapon was crushed into pieces. That late Earth immortal spurted out a mouthful of blood as his mind was already injured. By the time he was enraged, Ningqi had already waved his hand lightly and the pieces of the inferior-grade immortal weapon had turned into a sieve. He died on the spot like a kite with a broken string, falling onto the ground. Everyone, including the giant monkey, looked at Ningqi with a trace of horror in their eyes. He was able to destroy a low-grade celestial weapon and kill a late Earth immortal on the spot so easily. He was definitely not a perfected Earth immortal. He must be at least a heaven immortal. Senior, this is a misunderstanding. We didn't know that you're a heaven immortal patriarch. Please forgive us if we've offended you. The remaining Earth immortals from the 9 sect alliances no longer dared to be arrogant as they bowed at Ningqi in fear. Your 9 sect alliances and I do have some history. Ningqi smiled and said. Upon hearing that, despair flashed across the giant monkey's eyes. Since the other party had some history with the 9 sect alliances, it would definitely die today. What? The Earth immortals from the 9 sect alliances were pleasantly surprised. Back then, I was also caught and brought to your 9 sect alliance's gladiator arena for a period of time. Come to think of it, more than 100 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Ningqi sighed emotionally. Gasp! Upon hearing that, the crowd, who had just revealed a joyful expression, immediately gasped in their hearts and stared at Ningqi dumbfoundedly. What kind of joke was that? Chapter 26-23. As senior. You must be joking, right? After the atmosphere was awkward for a while, an Earth immortal from the 9 sect alliances finally mustered up his courage and asked, Look at how serious I look. Do I look like I'm joking? Ningqi smiled. And no, then why aren't you getting lost? Are you waiting for me to treat you guys to a meal? Ningqi smiled. We'll get lost now, we'll get lost now. Seeing that Ningqi did not have the intention to kill them, they did not dare to stay any longer. They did not even dare to keep the advanced stage Earth Immortal's body as they turned around and fled. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from Ningqi and the giant monkey's sight. After they left, the giant monkey let out a sigh of relief. With a bang, it sat down on the ground. Its injuries were very serious. Although they weren't fatal, for a short period of time, it would be very difficult for it to even stand, let alone fight. You're cultivating the rod technique? Ningqi glanced at the giant monkey's rod. It was a very ordinary rod that was not even a low-grade immortal weapon. It was a spiritual weapon that could only be used by those below the human immortal level on the ancestral star. The giant monkey nodded. Looking at its weak appearance, it would probably faint if it said a few more words. You have a bright future. Ningqi smiled and nodded. Then, he turned around and headed toward the direction of the 9 sect alliance's gladiator arena. Upon seeing that, the giant monkey was taken aback. Somehow, it managed to muster up enough energy to stand up with all its might and follow behind Ningqi. Every step it took, the wound on its chest would move. Why are you following me? 2 more steps and you'll be done bleeding. Ningqi stopped and turned around to smile at the giant monkey. Senior, you're going to the 9 sect alliances. A hint of stubbornness flashed in the giant monkey's eyes. So? Ningqi smiled. The giant monkey was speechless. Seeing this, Ningqi turned around and walked away. The giant monkey used the stick to support its body and followed Ningqi step by step. They followed for 9 days and 9 nights. Not only did its injuries not get better, but they also gradually worsened because it used all its strength to walk. Along the way, the giant monkey would sometimes fall, but it would grit its teeth and get up. Occasionally, it would meet a few celestials passing by. Seeing that the monkey was injured, they wanted to take the opportunity to attack. A dead celestial beast was also very valuable, especially in a place like this where resources were scarce. In the end, they didn't dare to attack because they couldn't see through Ningqi. One day, Ningqi sat down on the spot. The giant monkey was taken aback for a moment before it sat down as well. It greedily absorbed the spiritual qi in the surroundings. It wanted to use this time to recover from its injuries. Time passed day by day, and when the giant monkey's injuries were about 30 to 40% healed, Ningqi continued on his way. This time, however, he didn't walk. Seeing Ningqi breaking through the air, the giant monkey immediately followed. Its injuries had already healed a lot, and it could support itself in breaking through the air. 9 Sect Alliance's Gladiator Arena. With Zhuge, the sect leader of the 6 Combination Sect, as the remaining 8 sect leaders sat together, listening to the narration of the Earth Immortals who had escaped from Ning Qi's hands. That Heaven Immortal said that he was imprisoned in our 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena? After a while, Zhuge Lingye said with a solemn expression, "Old ancestor, it's absolutely true. Everyone heard it. The late-stage Earth Immortal who died in Ning Qi's hands was an immortal from the 6 combination sect. The mid-stage Earth Immortal who was speaking now said with lingering fear. He was also an immortal from the 6 combination sect, but he was lucky that he didn't stand out. That was why he managed to survive with the others. Are you kidding me? When has our 9-sect alliances ever captured a Heaven Immortal?" The remaining 8 sect leaders looked a little confused. No matter how old they were and how muddle-headed they were, it was impossible that they couldn't even remember such a big thing, right? Until now, the strongest gladiator imprisoned in the 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena was only a perfected Earth Immortal. Could it be an excuse that the other party came up with to rescue that long-armed ape? One of the sect leaders said with a frown. Another sect leader shook his head. That's not very possible. Based on the other party's strength, he could easily destroy a low-grade immortal weapon and kill a late-stage Earth Immortal. He's at least an early-stage Heaven Immortal. If he really wanted to rescue the long-armed ape, why would he need such a lousy excuse? After discussing for a long time, they still could not remember when they had offended a heavenly immortal. Finally, Zhuge Lingye said indifferently, "No matter who the other party is, since he killed the immortals of our 9-sect alliances, he will have to pay the price. There's news that he is currently carrying a heavenly immortal. There's news that he's bringing a heavily injured long-armed ape to our 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena. Everyone, why don't we set up a formation to welcome this guest and show our 9-sect alliance's hospitality? But we don't know what level his cultivation base is or where he came from." "That's right. If he's a perfected Heaven Immortal, what kind of price do you think we'll have to pay to kill him, sect leader Zhuge?" "That's right." At the end of the day, other than Zhuge Lingye, the other 8 sect leaders did not quite agree with his suggestion. "You guys think that it's none of your business that it's not your sect's disciple who died?" Zhuge Lingye's lips curled into a faint sneer. "Don't forget that he's the one who's coming to our 9-sect alliances. Do you guys think that he's here to have a chat after killing our 6-sect's disciple? Let's get ready to welcome this guest." Zhuge Lingye scoffed and stood up to leave. Upon seeing that, the other 8 people exchanged glances. After a short discussion, they finally decided to do as Zhuge Lingye said. After all, they were not so naive to think that Ning Qi was just passing by. "Senior, the 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena is right ahead." The giant monkey pointed at a huge city far away with a stick and said, "Do you think they'll welcome us?" Ning Qi smiled at the giant monkey. "I don't know." The giant monkey shook its head with a strange expression. With its strength that was equivalent to a Middle-earth immortal, it had long discovered that there were many spies hidden along the way. However, Ning Qi's speed was extremely slow. The giant monkey felt that there must be countless immortals lying in ambush in the 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena, planning to give them a thunderous blow. Outside the city gate, people were coming and going as usual. However, some of the more sensitive immortals could sense that the atmosphere was a little strange today. It was because those 9-sect alliance's sky prides, who were rarely seen, seemed to have made an appointment today as they all came out for a walk. Seeing one of them made them feel as if a storm was about to come. Chapter 26-24. Isn't that the long-armed ape? Has it been pardoned by the 9-sect alliances? That's impossible. I heard that it escaped from the 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena some time ago. The weird thing is, why did it come back here instead of leaving the wilderness? Escaped from the gladiator arena? Didn't the 9-sect alliances send people to hunt it down? When the giant monkey followed Ning-Chi into the city, countless strange gazes landed on it. Many people here recognized it. After all, it was considered a rather famous existence in the Nine-Sect Alliance's gladiator arena. It had the combat strength of a mid-stage earthly immortal and had fought quite a few battles that no one could bear to look at. It was a battle that no one could forget. The crowds pointing and gossiping made the giant monkey even more furious. The breath it exhaled was almost accompanied by sparks. Right at this moment, rays of white light appeared beneath Ning-Chi's feet. In the blink of an eye, a formation appeared beneath Ning-Chi and the giant monkey. Boundless immortal chi gushed out of the formation, scaring the surrounding immortals into retreating one after another as they looked at the scene in disbelief. They had no idea when this formation was set up at all. "Senior, I can't move." The giant monkey revealed a hint of anxiety in its eyes. The formation beneath its feet suppressed its physical body and the immortal chi in its body. Right now, it was as though someone had sealed its acupoints. Apart from its mouth, it could not move any other part of its body. Clap, clap, clap. Suddenly, many figures appeared from all directions. Zhuge Lingye and the other 8 sect leaders clapped their hands and walked towards Ning-Chi. Zhuge Lingye looked at Ning-Chi with a faint smile and said, "May I know how I should address you and which sect you're from? After killing my 6 sect's disciple, you still dare to come to our 9-sect alliance's giant city. I'm truly impressed by your gut." Zhuge Lingye. After Zhuge Lingye appeared, the giant monkey glared at him with a deep-seated hatred in its eyes. Ning-Chi smiled and glanced at Zhuge Lingye and the others. Other than the 9 heavenly immortals, there were 40 to 50 earthly immortals standing outside the formation, looking at Ning-Chi cautiously. Sect leader Zhuge Sure is hospitable to have arranged so many people to welcome us. Do you think I should be happy or happy? Ning-Chi smiled. Weren't happy and happy the same thing? A hint of doubt flashed in many people's eyes. Zhuge Lingye looked at Ning-Chi indifferently. You should be happy and happy. In order to welcome the 2 of you, the 9 of us specially joined forces to set up a 3rd-level immortal trapping array. No one has ever enjoyed such treatment on the 9 Heroes planet in all these years. Who exactly are you? Why are you going against our 9-sect alliances? Why don't we lay it out and talk about whether there are any misunderstandings? One of the sect leaders frowned. Even though they had trapped him, he was a heaven immortal after all. Under the circumstances where his background and origins were unknown, they were unwilling to rashly make an enemy out of him. What a forgetful person. Don't you remember me? Do you remember the How Ran Star When Family? Ning-Chi laughed. The noble stars when family? Of course, everyone remembered. However, they had long heard that the vast star when family had been exterminated. Although the immortal world was huge, sometimes news spread extremely quickly. Wait a minute. You're that. Zhuge Lingye's brows suddenly furrowed as he regarded Ning-Chi. Finally, he recalled Ning-Chi's origins. Feeling somewhat shocked, he said, "You are the human immortal from back then?" Sect leader Zhuge, could you have mistaken me for someone else? How could you be that human immortal? It's only been so many years. Even the Sky Prides under the Immortal Emperor's tutelage wouldn't have such a cultivation speed, right? The other 8 sect leaders seemed to have recognized Ning-Chi as well. Their expressions became strange. How could a human immortal become a heaven immortal in just 100 years? Sect leader Zhuge, you have a good memory. Ning-Chi nodded with a smile. Even though everyone was unwilling to believe it, the truth was right before their eyes. They finally understood why a celestial immortal would say that he was once imprisoned in an arena, but they didn't remember it. It was because this celestial immortal was merely a human immortal. The giant monkey was a little stunned as he listened. The One family was exterminated back then. Even at its peak, it was impossible for them to nurture such a Sky Prides. How did you advance to become a heaven immortal in just 100 years? Zhuge Lingye's eyes revealed a hint of solemnity. In the depths of his eyes there was a tinge of greed. Ning Qi's cultivation speed was just too fast. It was so fast that it was beyond his understanding of the immortal world. There was only one possibility: Ning Qi had encountered a great opportunity. The other 8 sect leaders seemed to have thought of this as well. The way they looked at Ning Qi changed slightly. I'm afraid this has nothing to do with sect leader Zhuge. Ning Qi smiled. Nothing to do with it? The level 3 immortal trap formation is enough to trap you here. If you don't want to tell me, I have countless ways to make you tell me, Zhuge Lingye said with a smile. He paused for a moment and said to the people around him, "Close the city gates. No immortals in the city are allowed to leave today. Whoever dares to leave this place without permission will be killed without mercy." The cultivators from the 9 sect alliances nodded one after another. Some of them went to close the city gates while others restrained the immortals who were watching the commotion nearby. By the time they reacted, they realized that the immortals from the 9 sect alliances had already surrounded the entire city. If they wanted to leave by force, they would have to face the intense suppression from the 9 sect alliances. Suppression. Sect leader Zhuge, this guy must be hiding some secret. If we can force him to tell us, we might have a chance to become a golden immortal. However, there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. I'm afraid the news of today's incident will soon spread out of the wilderness. We don't have much time left. Why don't we bring him away from 9 Heroes Star first and find a secluded place where we can slowly interrogate him? One of the sect leaders suggested. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Ning Qi smiled. Then, in front of Zhuge Lingye and the rest, he gently stepped on the ground. The array formation on the ground was instantly reduced to dust. The giant monkey, who was trapped by the array formation, was slightly stunned. It took a tentative step forward and confirmed that the array formation had indeed been broken. I think this place is not bad. Ning Qi smiled. Zhuge Lingye and the rest looked a little dazed, as though they had yet to react. After a full 3 breaths time, Zhuge Lingye took a step back subconsciously and looked at Ning Qi in shock. How did you break this level 3 immortal trap formation? Even a perfected heaven immortal would not be able to break a level 3 immortal trap formation so easily. Without hundreds and thousands of years, one would not be able to walk out of the level 3 immortal trap formation. Chapter 26-25. Too inexperienced? The air around them seemed to have frozen, and the atmosphere was a little awkward. After a while, Zhuge Lingye laughed awkwardly and cupped his fists at Ning Qi. I didn't expect that even a 3rd stage immortal trapping formation couldn't trap you. I'm impressed. The other 8 sect leaders looked awkward as well, not knowing what to say. As for the immortals from the 9 sect alliances, they had long been shocked by Ning Qi's method of breaking the trapping immortal formation and did not dare to act recklessly. All of them knew very well that a celestial immortal who could break through a 3rd-order immortal trapping formation was definitely not an ordinary person. Perhaps if they were to really fight, even if the 9 sect leaders joined forces, they might not be a match for him. Senior, Zhuge Lingye is treacherous and cunning. He might have other tricks up his sleeve. The giant monkey reminded. I dare not, Zhuge Lingye quickly waved his hand and revealed a humble smile, just like how he had treated Wen Xing and Wen Qing back then. Shameless. The giant monkey held it in for a long time before 2 words came out of its mouth. It had never thought that Zhuge Lingye, the sect leader of the 6 Union sect, the number 1 person in the 9 sect alliances, and a heavenly immortal, would actually be so adept at changing faces. Zhuge Lingye's expression did not change. It was as if he could not hear the giant monkey's disdain for him. He still wore a humble smile on his face. He had been in control of the wilderness for so long. As the sect leader of the 6 Union sect, he would occasionally encounter existences that he could not afford to offend. He had only managed to survive until now by being thick-skinned. Don't be mischievous. I don't like it. Ning Qi smiled. Zhuge Lingye was slightly taken aback. He immediately stopped smiling and looked at Ning Qi sternly. However, there was a flash of anger in the depths of his eyes. They were both sky immortals. He had already lowered himself so much, yet Ning Qi was not giving him any face at all? When the other 8 sect leaders saw this, they secretly exchanged glances. They already knew in their hearts that it was basically impossible for this matter to be resolved peacefully today. I ask you answer. Ning Qi looked at Zhuge Lingye coolly. He had seen many people like this before. The giant monkey was worried that Ning Qi would be fooled by Zhuge Lingye's facade. However, neither the giant monkey nor Zhuge Lingye could have imagined that Ning Qi's methods were far stronger than those of ordinary celestial immortals. Ning Qi wouldn't care about any little tricks he did behind his back. Please ask. Zhuge Lingye was stunned for a moment and quickly nodded his head. The others also did not expect Ning Qi to come all the way here just to ask questions. Have there been any unusual movements on Nine Heroes' planet during this period of time? Ning Qi said lightly. Abnormal movement? Zhuge Lingye's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that a rare treasure has appeared on the Nine Heroes' planet? Is that why this person came here? Yes, that must be it. He thought he had guessed Ning Qi's purpose for coming to Planet 9 Heroes. Planet 9 Meritocrats seems to be very peaceful during this period of time. There are no unusual movements, Zhuge Lingye said in a slightly respectful manner. Ning Qi looked indifferently at the 9 sect masters, including Zhuge Lingye. However, he noticed that one of them had a slight change in expression. You tell me. Ning Qi pointed at him. Seeing this, the sect master hesitated for a moment before saying, I seem to have seen a few Almighties pass by Planet 9 Heroes some time ago. Is that considered an anomaly? Really? I really don't know. Zhuge Lingye explained hurriedly. At the same time, he was even more certain of Ning Qi's purpose for coming here. He secretly cursed that fellow for not telling them about this after discovering it. Otherwise, they would have been able to make preparations earlier. After all, Planet 9 Heroes was the 9 Sect Alliance's home ground. If any rare treasures really appeared, the 9 Sect Alliance's cultivators that were scattered all over the world should be able to react in time. They should be able to discover something. Did you see the faces of those few Almighties? Ning Qi asked lightly. They were too fast, so I couldn't see their faces clearly. However, I'm sure that 3 of them were women. The other party replied after recalling for a while. Other than that, were there any cultivators below the human immortal stage that appeared on Planet 9 Heroes? Ning Qi asked without batting an eyelid. When many of the cultivators from the 9 sect alliances heard this, their expressions changed. Ning Qi merely cast a nonchalant glance at Zhuge Lingye and immediately asked the cultivators sensibly. In the end, he confirmed that there were indeed many unfamiliar cultivators on 9 Heroes' planet. According to these cultivators, they had appeared here in just the blink of an eye. In that case, it was enough to confirm that the missing cultivators on Planet 9 Heroes had indeed come to the celestial world. In that case, the Almighties that the Heaven Immortal had mentioned earlier should be Jian Shilai, the 2 women, and Jiang Yu. As for why Jian Shilai and the other 2 women gave off the illusion that they were Almighties, it was most likely because of the demon ancestor's heart. An item that was left behind by a 4th step being was most likely very powerful. Could shake the world. How long ago was it when you saw those few Almighties? 3 years ago. Which direction did they go? This. I really don't know. Alright, one more question. Have any of you seen this thing before? Ning Qi waved his hand gently, and a mini Nuwa appeared in front of everyone immediately. It was constructed with Ning Qi's immortal qi. Zhuge Lingye and the rest looked at it for a long time and eventually shook their heads, indicating that they had never seen it before. Just at this moment, a figure broke through the air and appeared in the sky above them. When Zhuge Lingye and the others saw this figure, they all heaved a sigh of relief. They cupped their hands in greeting and said, "We pay our respects to the venomous toad patriarch." It was an old man dressed in a green robe. He looked extremely disgusting. His withered skin was full of fat lumps, some of which were even bubbling with green bubbles. The demonic aura on his body was very strong, and he was standing on a green cloud. Some of the low-level immortals present suddenly found it difficult to breathe. They looked at the green-robed old man with fear in their eyes. This was a demon cultivator. Furthermore, he was not an ordinary small demon. He was most likely a great demon at the golden immortal level. "Zhuge Lingye, you sent a message for me to come and help. Have you prepared the 50,000 girls I asked for? Recently, my poison cultivation has reached a bottleneck. I can borrow these 50,000 girls to see if I can advance to the next level," Patriarch Poisonous Toad said faintly. Patriarch Poisonous Toad said indifferently. As he spoke, he glanced at Ning Qi and a trace of disdain flashed across his eyes. "Patriarch Poisonous Toad, the 50,000 girls have already been prepared. As long as you help us suppress this person, I will immediately hand them over with both hands." Zhuge Lingye cupped his hands and smiled. Chapter 26. The giant monkey revealed a helpless look. "Senior, I've already reminded you. If Ning Qi had broken the immortal trap array and killed Zhuge Lingye and the rest, he wouldn't have met this Patriarch Poison Toad after leaving Planet 9 Heroes." The giant monkey had stayed in the 9-Sect Alliance's arena for some years and had seen Patriarch Poison Toad twice. This was an extremely ruthless golden immortal demon. It was said that his cultivation had reached the peak of early-stage Golden Immortal and was only half a step away from mid-stage Golden Immortal. Despite knowing that he couldn't defeat him, the giant monkey was still prepared to fight. The blood in his body gradually surged, ready to strike at any time. Patriarch Poison Toad glanced at Ning Qi and the giant monkey indifferently and sneered at Zhuge Lingye. "A perfected Heaven Immortal and a mid-stage Earth Immortal monkey. Aren't you ashamed to ask me to kill them personally?" Zhuge Lingye revealed a humble smile. "I am incompetent. I could only trouble old ancestor to personally make this trip. However, I hope that old ancestor will show mercy. I want these two alive." "Alive?" Patriarch Poison Toad's eyes flashed with suspicion as he looked at Ning Qi and Zhuge Lingye with a faint smile. Zhuge Lingye's heart was filled with unspeakable bitterness. He could see that Patriarch Venomous Toad was already suspicious, but he had no choice. If he killed Ning Qi just like that, he would not be satisfied. Therefore, even if it was a small risk, he wanted Patriarch Venomous Toad to help him capture Ning Qi alive. Advancing from a human immortal to a heaven immortal in over 100 years was an opportunity that Zhuge Lingye could not bear to give up. "Yes, I want them alive." Zhuge Lingye nodded. "That's simple." Patriarch Poison Toad smiled and said, 100,000 virgin girls. 100,000? Zhuge Lingye was slightly stunned as he didn't expect the other party to ask for such an exorbitant price. However, since things had come to this, what could he do even if he didn't agree? Based on his understanding of Patriarch Poison Toad, if he didn't fulfill the other party's request, there would be a bloodbath today. 100,000 it is then. However, the virgin girls that Patriarch requested are a little hard to find. You'll need some time to give me another 50,000. Zhuge Lingye nodded. As for time, I have plenty. I'll give you another 5 years. Is that enough? Patriarch Poison Toad smiled. Enough. Zhuge Lingye said. I thought you were just capturing some immortals to have some fun in the arena. I didn't expect you to talk about tens of thousands of virgin girls. Isn't this the work of the demonic path? Ning Qi's expression was serious. From the conversation between the venomous toad patriarch and Zhuge Lingye, he could tell that this was not the first time they had done business like this. This is how small places are. Please forgive me, Your Excellency. Zhuge Lingye smiled at Ning Qi. After a short pause, he continued, "Come to think of it, if you didn't want to go against our 9 sect alliances, you wouldn't have to sacrifice 100,000 young girls this time, and you wouldn't have to make the venomous toad patriarch come all the way here. Those 100,000 young girls can be attributed to you, and I'm sure they'll be very grateful to you. How can an ordinary person obtain this kind of glory by contributing to a cultivation technique? Zhuge Lingye, not only are you despicable and shameless, but you're also extremely vicious. As an immortal beast, the number of people I've killed doesn't even amount to 1 finger of yours." The giant monkey sneered. "Ancestor, please." Zhuge Lingye ignored the giant monkey and bowed respectfully to the venomous toad patriarch. The venomous toad patriarch laughed and looked at Ning Qi. "Kid, you'd better not waste my strength. Kneel down now and you'll suffer less. If you let me do it, I'm afraid the poison in my body will make you wish you were dead. I'll be honest." Ning Qi looked at the venomous toad patriarch with a serious expression. The venomous toad patriarch was slightly stunned, feeling that Ning Qi's current attitude was a little off. Logically speaking, if the other party wasn't so scared that he couldn't speak, he should be begging for mercy. Why was he so calm? At the thought of this, the venomous toad patriarch narrowed his eyes. "What's the truth? Tell me. I've killed many golden immortals like you, but it's my first time killing such a disgusting golden immortal like you." Ning Qi smiled. Then, in front of everyone, he took out the immortal exterminating bow and shot an arrow at the venomous toad patriarch. Ning Qi only used a portion of his strength in this arrow, so he didn't go into a state of exhaustion after shooting it. The boundless great Tao energy condensed into a golden arrow and shot towards the shocked venomous toad patriarch. The venomous toad patriarch didn't have any time to react before the arrow pierced through his heart. "With this immortal exterminating bow, I've killed a grand luo and made a Xian immortal impotent for the rest of his life. You might have heard of that grand luo before. I remember his name was Jiang Wei, the genius of the Central Empire's Jiang family. You died the same way as him. How can an ordinary person have such glory?" Ning Qi smiled. "Immortal exterminating bow. Jiang Wei?" The venomous toad patriarch looked down at his wound with difficulty. His face was filled with unwillingness, and his eyes were filled with endless regret. He looked at Zhuge Lingye with extreme hatred. "You caused me, bang!" With a soft sound, the venomous toad patriarch turned into a cloud of green blood mist and dissipated in the air. Not even a trace of his soul was left behind. He was completely dead. The scene was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. The giant monkey looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. What was this? A golden immortal great demon was killed with a single arrow just like that? The genius of the Central Empire's Jiang family, Jiang Wei? The smile on Zhuge Lingye's face gradually disappeared, and what replaced it was endless fear. This time, he was truly afraid. "Spare me!" Zhuge Lingye knelt down in front of Ning Qi. Following closely behind him were the leaders of the other 8 major sections. They also knelt down along with Zhuge Lingye. Upon seeing this, the immortals of the 9 sect alliances also knelt down, completely losing their will to fight. Even a golden immortal was killed with a single arrow. How would they dare to fight with Ning Qi again? From today onwards, there will be no more 9 sect alliances, Ning Qi said lightly. In the next instant, tragic howls reverberated through the sky, lasting for more than 2 hours. The cracks on the ground were filled with blood, and the entire city was filled with the stench of blood. The 9 sect leaders, including Zhuge Lingye, were all killed by Ning Qi with a single strike of his sword. Wherever Ningqi passed by, no one was spared. When the giant monkey regained its senses, it roared and waved its rod excitedly, striking at the immortals of the 9 sect alliances. It was a massacre. Those immortals who had nothing to do with the 9 sect alliances stood rooted to the ground in horror. Even when blood flowed under their feet, they did not dare to move at all. They could only stand there blankly until the massacre was over. Soon, the giant monkey returned to Ningqi's side and said in a low voice, "Senior, all the cultivators of the 9 sect alliances in the city have been killed. And those outside the city." Ningqi stood with his hands behind his back, looking at a building not far away. His divine telekinesis had already discovered that the 50,000 young girls that Zhuge Lingye had captured were all imprisoned there. Chapter 26-27. In the Gladiator Arena. The gladiators who were locked behind the iron bars stood in front of the bars, trying their best to find out what was happening outside. Why was there such a heavy smell of blood in the air? Right at this moment, everyone saw a silhouette suddenly appearing inside. Wherever that silhouette passed by, the iron bars automatically opened. "What's going on?" The crowd walked out in shock and looked at each other. Eventually, they looked at Ningqi with a hint of doubt in their eyes. "The 9 sect alliances are gone, so you guys can leave now." Ningqi stopped in front of a stone room and said calmly, "The 9 sect alliances are gone?" Such a heavy smell of blood. How many immortals must have died for such a scene to happen? Could this person have massacred the 9 sect alliances? The crowd looked at Ningqi in shock. Some of them had already plucked up their courage and left, but there were still many who dared not leave. They were afraid that this was just a show by the 9 sect alliances. The 9 sect alliances are really dead. A silhouette who had left turned back and shouted in agitation. He then looked at Ningqi with a hint of respect in his eyes. To be able to massacre the 9 sect alliances, that person had to be at least a golden immortal. To these human immortals, a golden immortal was already an unreachable existence. Some of them had not even seen a golden immortal in their entire lives. They're really all dead? I've gone to take a look too. They're really all dead. Do you guys remember that long-armed ape? It's out there searching for the remaining 9 sect alliances now. That's great. We're free. Many people were in tears. Some of the gladiators had been imprisoned here for thousands of years. They had lived a bloody life and had no time to cultivate, nor did they have the time to cultivate their state of mind. They did not know if they would turn into a cold corpse the next day. All they could do was continue to study killing technique. Therefore, they could only continue to study killing techniques and life-saving technique. Even an immortal would have a hard time living such a high-intensity and stressful life. "It's you," suddenly, a silhouette looked at Ningqi in disbelief as shock filled his face. Retrieving his divine telekinesis from the stone room, Ningqi turned around and smiled. "Oh, it's you. So many years have passed, and you're still in the gladiator arena." When Ningqi had been thrown into the wrestling ring, Zhao Tong had been in the same room as him. At that time, Zhao Tong's attitude had been completely different from his. So when Ningqi saw Zhu Yu, he thought of Zhao Tong at that time. Zhao Tong was self-abased and kind. Unfortunately, even so, he couldn't resist the changes that came after his ego swelled. Zhu Yu looked at Ningqi with a complicated expression and was speechless. He had not expected that the person who had bathed the 9 sect alliances in blood would be the fellow whom he had thought was the lucky one back then. How did he become so powerful in the short span of 100 years? Zhu Yu couldn't figure it out, and he had mixed feelings in his heart. "You guys should go." Ningqi glanced at the crowd indifferently, then turned around and entered the stone chamber. Below this stone chamber, there were 50,000 young girls imprisoned. "Zhu Yu, you know this, senior?" After Ningqi entered the stone chamber, The rest of the gladiators looked at Jiu Yu in disbelief. Since he knew such a powerful existence, how could he have been imprisoned in the 9-sect alliance's gladiator arena for so many years? Actually, you two should know each other. Jiu Yu laughed self-mockingly. Unwilling to stay here any longer, he soared into the sky and left. Many people pondered over this sentence. Then, a look of shock appeared in their eyes as they looked at the stone room. Clearly, they remembered that more than 100 years ago, there was an early human immortal who shone brilliantly in the arena and was taken away by the Wen siblings. However, they didn't expect that in just 100 years. They did not expect that early-stage human immortal to become so powerful in such a short period of time. When Ningqi reached the bottom of the dark staircase, 2 flying swords shot towards him. With a gentle wave of his hand, the 2 flying swords shot back at an even faster speed, nailing the 2 early-stage Earth immortals to the wall. These 2 people were the only 2 9-sect alliances cultivators left here. Pairs of clear eyes looked at Ningqi timidly. These eyes were filled with fear, panic, confusion, and sluggishness. The owners of these eyes were no older than 3 years old, and the oldest was no older than 7 or 8 years old. They sat on the cold floor and stared at Ningqi. Ningqi realized that these young girls seemed to have a similar characteristic. The yin qi on them was much heavier than ordinary girls. Do you want to go home? Ningqi smiled. Yes. The girl who was closest to Ningqi nodded excitedly. Let's go. I'll send you back. Ningqi smiled. These girls were unusually mature. They did not make any noise or panic. Instead, they stood up slowly and lined up, waiting to leave. Oh, wait a minute. There are still 2 little bugs. Ningqi made a gesture, then looked at the 2 guys who were nailed to the wall by him, unable to move. The 2 of them were not dead yet. When they saw Ningqi looking at them, they were so scared that their bodies trembled, but every time they trembled, there would be severe pain from their wounds. After all, they were now nailed to the wall in midair. On the wall, all the support points were on the 2's flying swords. Swoosh! Ningqi gently pointed at one of them, and a strand of immortal qi immediately penetrated his head and annihilated his divine soul. Seeing that, the other person shouted at Ningqi in fear, "Don't kill me! Old ancestor Venomous Toad has gathered many young girls. Don't kill me and I'll tell you where his lair is." And many young girls? Ningqi frowned and walked slowly to the guy. He looked him up and down and smiled. How do you know where old ancestor Venomous Toad's lair is? Because I'm in charge of transporting the young girls. As long as you don't kill me, I'll tell you. Seeing that Ningqi was asking, the guy knew that he had a chance. From the moment he heard that Ningqi wanted to bring these young girls home, he knew that this might be the only way for him to survive. No matter what, he had to try. Ningqi smiled. You swear a deadly oath." The guy hesitated and said, "Then go to hell. I can find old ancestor Venomous Toad's lair if I spend some time." Ningqi smiled and raised his right hand. I'll talk. As long as you let me live, I'll tell you everything." After a while, Ningqi got what he wanted to know and killed the Earth Immortal without hesitation. Before the guy died, his eyes were blank. He couldn't figure out why Ningqi wanted to kill him. After all, he was just an Earth Immortal. Breaking his promise for an Earth Immortal was not a good idea. Chapter 26-28. Half a month later, the 50,000 young girls were sent back by the giant monkey along with a batch of temporarily recruited cultivators. Whether it was because they were intimidated by Ningqi's means or because Ningqi was providing them with spirit jade pills and earth spirit pills, each and every one of them was working hard. If the families of some of the girls were dead or missing, they would use their networks to find a better home for the girls. In the giant city, the giant monkey stood in front of Ningqi and said in a low voice, "Senior, After half a month of searching, we can't find any survivors of the 9 sect alliances on Planet 9 Heroes anymore. Perhaps they're hiding somewhere. Give me another 100 years and I'll be able to catch them one by one. Do as you see fit. That stick you're using is too ordinary. I'll lend you this mountain and river purple golden hammer. Ning Qi nodded with a faint smile and took out the mountain and river purple golden hammer from his consciousness. The giant monkey stared at the mountain and river purple golden hammer in shock. He could feel a majestic force of Tao from the hammer. This was a Tao weapon. Senior, this, after the giant monkey recovered from the shock, a hint of hesitation could be seen on his face. This gift was a little too much. He was just a second-rank immortal beast. How could he be qualified to use a Tao weapon? Your cultivation base also increases with your strength. This mountain and river purple golden hammer is quite suitable for you. Even if you can't unleash its true power, smashing 2 to 3 heaven immortals will be a piece of cake. Take it. Ning Qi smiled. The giant monkey took the mountain and river purple golden hammer from Ning Qi blankly. Just as he was about to say something, he realized that Ning Qi had disappeared in a flash. Don't worry, Senior. I'll definitely not lose this hammer. I'll return it to you when you come back. The giant monkey mumbled to himself while holding the mountain and river purple golden hammer. According to the Earth Immortal from the 9 sect alliances, after Ning Qi left Planet 9 Heroes, he transformed into a giant eagle using the 8-9 arcane art and flew towards Patriarch Poison Toad's lair. The giant eagle form had an additional speed. Ning Qi's 90,000 Li teleportation skill was already extremely fast, so his current speed was not inferior to that of an immortal boat. Most of the immortal boats on the way could not even match Ning Qi's current speed. After 9 days, a barren planet appeared in front of Ning Qi. This planet was shrouded in a faint layer of green fog. There didn't seem to be many living beings inside. This was old ancestor Poisonous Toad's nest. Ning Qi scanned with his divine thoughts and his eyes moved slightly. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of a luxurious giant city, which was shaped like a toad. The city gate was the mouth of the toad. 2 earthly immortals covered in green blisters stood on both sides of the city gate. Their eyes were very big, very big. With a single look, one could tell that they were the descendants of the venomous toad patriarch with a strong demonic aura. There were no other cultivators on this planet, but Patriarch Poison Toad still had 2 of them stand guard at the city gate. It was obvious that he paid great attention to his appearance. When Ning Qi walked to the city gate, the 2 demon cultivators were slightly startled at first, then they looked at Ning Qi with vigilance. Who are you? What are you doing here? I heard that this is Patriarch Poison Toad's lair, right? Ning Qi smiled. Lair? This word was filled with hostility. The 2 of them didn't say a word and directly spat out a mouthful of poisonous fog at Ning Qi. When the poisonous fog that could melt everything floated in front of Ning Qi, it was burned into ashes by a ball of immortal flame. Seeing this, the 2 demon cultivators turned and fled. At the same time, they let out a long howl. Howl. Ning Qi didn't kill them. Instead, he slowly walked into the huge city. The city was quite prosperous. There were all kinds of shops on each street. However, at this moment, the shopkeepers, waiters, and stall owners were all looking at Ning Qi with strange expressions. Without exception, they all looked at Ning Qi strangely. Without exception, all of them were covered in green blisters and emitting demonic qi. I heard that toads can give birth to many children at once. Don't tell me that everyone in this giant city is the descendants of old ancestor Poison Toad? Ning Qi sighed. There was not a single human cultivator in the giant city, not even a demon cultivator of other races. There were only toad demons with a similar aura to old ancestor Poison Toad. Soon, the 2 guards flew back again. This time, there were 2 toad demons with celestial immortal aura with them. In addition, behind them, there were also toad demons with earthly immortal cultivation. Who are you? Why did you come to Toad Holy City to make trouble? Don't you know that old ancestor Poison Toad is cultivating here? A toad demon at the celestial immortal realm said coldly. As he spoke, the green bubbles on his neck expanded and contracted. One of them burst with a poof, and a glob of green mucus sprayed out. When the mucus fell to the ground, it burned a very deep hole. However, after the green bubble exploded, the toad demon's neck remained where it was. However, after the green blister on his neck exploded, another green blister appeared. So disgusting. Ning-Chi wasn't in the mood to talk nonsense with them. With a look of disgust, he took out another mountain and river purple golden hammer. But after thinking about it, he put away the mountain and river purple golden hammer and took out Little Black. Arrogant. Hearing the word disgusting, all of the toad spirits present were infuriated, including the shopkeepers and the passers-by. They all fiercely pounced at Ning-Chi. At the same time, they shot out green poison arrows. With so many toad spirits shooting together, it was incredibly powerful. In the blink of an eye, Ning-Chi had died. It was as if he was surrounded by a green meteor shower. At this moment, the sword in Ning-Chi's hand moved. A sword light that stretched for thousands of feet appeared out of nowhere and destroyed all the poisonous arrows. At the same time, countless toad demons screamed and died under the sword light. When the two toad demons saw this, they immediately knew that their opponent had something to rely on. Charge! Kill him! The two of them roared, but they were not too panicked. After all, there were a lot of toad demons in the holy city of toads. In their minds, they would be able to overwhelm Ning-Chi. The old ancestor went to the 9 Heroes planet. He should be back soon. Yes, just hold on a little longer. The two of them communicated telepathically. But in the next moment, they saw a blazing immortal flame erupt from Ning-Chi's body. Like a wave, it swept in all directions. All the toad demons turned into ashes at this moment, leaving the two toad demons at the heaven immortal level dumbfounded. Who are you? The old ancestor will not let you go when he comes back. The two toad demons looked at Ning-Chi in fear. Your old ancestor is already on his way. Go and accompany him. Chapter 26-29. After confirming that all the descendants of Venomous Toad Patriarch were dead, Ning-Chi flew up and flew toward the palace not far away. Within the palace, countless pairs of eyes stared at Ning-Chi in fear. They were all beautiful women, but their complexions weren't very good. They were dressed in the clothes of servants, and there were some unhealed scars on their skin. Human race. Ning-Chi said faintly. Yes, one of the women gathered her courage and nodded. How long have you been locked up here? Ning-Chi asked. More than 200 years. Some of them just arrived not long ago. The woman said in a low voice. Her aura was not weak and her cultivation had reached the early Earth immortal realm. Ning-Chi found that when she was speaking, the surrounding women looked at her with more fear than when they looked at him. Senior, we were all captured by Patriarch Poisonous Toad. Please be merciful and save us. Patriarch Poisonous Toad has gone to Planet 9 Heroes and will be back soon. When he comes back, we won't be able to leave. The woman continued with a pleading look on her face. What's your name? Ning-Chi smiled. I am Jin Yujing, a disciple of Mystic Light Sect in Planet Southern Mountain. More than 200 years ago, I met Patriarch Poisonous Toad when I went out to train. The woman said in a low voice. These women are also disciples of the major sections. Like you, they were captured by Patriarch Poisonous Toad? Ning-Chi scanned the hall. At this moment, there were more than 100 women standing here. Under the coverage of his divine will, there were still more than 300 who had yet to reveal themselves. They seemed to be very afraid that Ning-Chi would kill them all, so they were all hiding, their bodies still trembling. Yes, these sisters were all captured by Patriarch Poisonous Toad. Jean Yujing's eyes revealed a trace of pity as she nodded. I know. Don't be afraid. Patriarch Poisonous Toad is dead. Ningqi said with a smile. Patriarch Poisonous Toad is dead? The women present were shocked and looked at Ningqi in disbelief. Many of them had a trace of suspicion in their eyes, as if they were guessing whether what Ningqi said was true or not. Patriarch Poisonous Toad was a golden immortal. Naturally, only a golden immortal could kill him. This handsome young man in front of them looked so young, but he was already a golden immortal? Venomous Toad ancestor is dead? Jean Yujing was slightly startled, then a look of joy appeared on her face, and she bowed to Ningqi. Thank you, young master, for killing Ancestor Poison Toad. You're welcome. I heard that Venomous Toad Patriarch still has some girls with him. Bring me over. Ningqi smiled. Jean Yujing quickly nodded. Young master, please follow me. The rest of the women stood motionless and just watched Ningqi and Jean Yujing walk into the depths of the palace. The expressions on their faces were very complicated. A few of them wanted to say something but were stopped by the people around them. As a golden immortal, Patriarch Venom Toad loved to enjoy life. This palace was built in an incomparably luxurious manner. There was even a long corridor that was paved with mid-grade immortal stones. There were at least 10,000 mid-grade immortal stones. Apart from that, there were many places where the materials were very particular. Its value was enough to make some heavenly immortals' eyes go red with envy. As Jean Yujing led the way, she constantly criticized Patriarch Venomtoad's various vicious method. Occasionally, her words would reveal a trace of longing for planet South Mountain, as if hinting for Ningqi to send her back. Ningqi just smiled, not agreeing or disagreeing. At the same time, the maidservants they met along the way, after seeing Jean Yujing and Ningqi, all of them revealed a look of horror and hid far away, not daring to approach. Not long after, Jean Yujing brought Ningqi to the entrance of an underground palace. Here, Jean Yujing bowed to Ningqi. Young master, this little girl is imprisoned here by Patriarch Venomtoad. However, there are many traps inside. Patriarch Venomtoad personally laid down many killing arrays. This little girl's cultivation is too low, so I don't dare to enter. I won't let anything happen to you if you follow me. Ningqi smiled. Jean Yujing was slightly startled. She forced a smile, nodded, and followed Ningqi into the underground palace. Ningqi could break the array formations they encountered along the way with just one sword strike. The deeper they went into the underground palace, the more shocked Jean Yujing was. This was because Ningqi had already broken through the 9 formations, and these 9 formations were personally set up by Patriarch Venomous Toad. Back then, he had even proudly told her that even if a golden immortal entered this place, they would be helpless. If they were unwilling to retreat, they could go a little deeper, and by then, they wouldn't be able to leave even if they wanted to. However, in front of Ningqi, these arrays were like a thin layer of paper. They could not stop him at all, and he could easily cut them apart with a single sword strike. Sir's cultivation has really broadened my horizons. Even the mystic light sect master, who I was in, could not stroll around like you. Jean Yujing said with a smile. Her eyes flashed with a hint of charm. In the immortal world, her appearance could be considered first-rate. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been caught by old ancestor Poisonous Toad. So when she deliberately wanted to seduce Ningqi, the atmosphere was really a bit. It made people feel hot. Hee, is that so? Ningqi smiled and did not say anything else. Seeing that Ningqi did not even look at her, Jean Yujing's heart skipped a beat. Her eyes revealed a trace of unwillingness. In the next moment, Jean Yujing did not say a word and followed behind Ningqi. After the two of them walked through a long corridor, their eyes suddenly opened up. Just like the arena of 9 Heroes Star, a large group of girls were sitting on the ground. However, their expressions were extremely dull, as if they had been hit by some kind of forbidden technique. "What's going on?" Ningqi said lightly. Jin Yujing quickly said, "After old ancestor poisonous toad caught these girls, he placed a forbidden technique on them. I heard that it is a unique forbidden technique of old ancestor poisonous toad. Only he can remove it. If it is forcefully removed, it is very likely that the girls will explode and die." Ningqi did not deny it. His eyes swept around. At the back of this hall there were many prison cells. Most of them were empty. Only one of them seemed to be locked up with a woman. That woman was standing in front of the prison cell, staring coldly at Ningqi and Jin Yujing. There were terrifying wounds on her body. Only her face did not seem to be tortured. Seeing this, Ningqi walked towards the prison cell. For some reason, Jin Yujing did not follow. "Lackey." That woman looked coldly at Ningqi. After a while, she spat out these two words. "Lackey." Ningqi smiled. "Who do you think I am?" The woman sneered. "Aren't those who can come here the lackeys of old ancestor poisonous toad? Just like that bitch Jin Yujing. Old ancestor poisonous toad is already dead. I killed him." Ningqi smiled. The woman was stunned for a moment. She looked at Ningqi in a daze, as if trying to determine whether what he said was true or false. However, after a few breaths, she immediately reacted and said in a low voice, "Capture Jin Yujing. She has completely pledged her loyalty to old ancestor poisonous toad. Most of these girls were personally captured by her." Chapter 26:30. The Golden Spear's aura was rather terrifying. It was equivalent to the full-force attack of a peak golden immortal. Patriarch Venomous Toad must have expended a lot of effort to set up such a formation. Therefore, he wasn't bragging when he said that a golden immortal wouldn't be able to escape. "Be careful." The woman who was locked inside let out a low growl and immediately retreated. The golden spear was aimed at Ningqi, but she was moving in the same direction as Ningqi. If she was hit by it, she would definitely turn into ashes with her cultivation base at the peak of heaven immortal realm. In the shadows, Jin Yujing stared coldly at Ningqi. Her eyes revealed a trace of satisfaction from her successful revenge. Just as the golden spear was about to pierce Ningqi's forehead, he grabbed it. The spear, which was completely formed from immortal qi, kept twisting in Ningqi's hand. Ningqi slowly exerted force, and gradually, the golden spear became smaller and smaller. Finally, it disappeared completely. "How is this possible?" Jin Yujing stared at Ningqi in a daze. Her body couldn't help but tremble. Patriarch Venomous Toad personally said that even a peak golden immortal would be crippled, if not dead, after entering the yin-yang lightning spear formation. She couldn't imagine how Ningqi could withstand the yin-yang lightning spear formation so easily. This was completely illogical. Could he be a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal? Thinking of this, Jin Yujing's heart was filled with even more fear. "You blocked the yin-yang lightning spear formation?" The woman in the cell carefully walked to the front and looked at Ningqi in disbelief through the iron bars. "The power of this formation isn't bad, but it's too weak for me." Ningqi smiled. "But you're only a peak sky immortal," Ji Yunfei said in shock. She and Ningqi were both peak sky immortals. Therefore, when Ningqi first arrived at the underground palace, she had already seen through his cultivation. The yin-yang lightning spear formation was enough to kill a peak golden immortal. There was no way a peak sky immortal could survive such a formation. What the hell was going on? Ningqi smiled and didn't answer Ji Yunfei's question. With a light tug, the iron bars that were personally poisoned by Patriarch Venomous Toad were instantly torn to pieces. "Be careful," Ji Yunfei, who originally wanted to remind Ningqi that the iron fence was poisoned, stared dumbfoundedly at the iron fence that trapped her and made her helpless. Ningqi easily tore it apart like dry firewood. One had to know that she was deceived by Jin Yujing to come here, and then imprisoned in this cell by Patriarch Venomous Toad for over 10 years. Over the past 10 years, other than the occasional torture from Jin Yujing, she had spent her free time thinking of ways to break through this iron fence. However, the poison on the iron fence was too strong. It was personally set up by Patriarch Venomous Toad using his blood. A mere perfected heaven immortal couldn't break it at all. Yet now, it was easily torn apart by another perfection stage heavenly immortal, and this caused Ji Yunfei's mental state to almost collapse. You can go now. Ning Qi smiled. Ji Yunfei woke up from the shock, but she did not leave immediately. Instead, she looked in the direction where Jin Yujing was, but it was already empty. Jin Yujing had already escaped. That bitch ran away. Quick, chase after him. Ji Yunfei shouted, only to find that there was no trace of Ning Qi in front of her. She immediately froze on the spot. Jin Yujing ran out of the underground palace with a face full of panic. She directly soared into the sky, wanting to escape from this place. Because she knew that killing Ning Qi to avenge Patriarch Venomous Toad was not something she could accomplish with her current cultivation. Since that was the case, it was better to escape first. As long as she could preserve her life, she could find another chance to avenge Patriarch Venomous Toad in the future. However, Jin Yujing had just left the ground by 30 meters when she saw Ning Qi standing in the sky, looking down at her condescendingly. There was even a trace of ridicule in his eyes. Young master. If I said that all of this was a misunderstanding, and that I thought you were sent by Patriarch Venomous Toad to test me, would you believe me? Jin Yujing said timidly. Of course I wouldn't believe you. Ning Qi smiled faintly. Before Jin Yujing could react, Ning Qi had already stepped on her head. Jin Yujing's head was instantly kicked into her chest, and her body smashed to the ground like a cannonball. With a smack, she turned into minced meat. At the same time, Ji Yunfei came out of the underground palace. She walked over to Jin Yujing. In front of the pile of minced meat, he raised his head and looked at Ning Qi. This is that bitch Jin Yujing? Ji Yunfei asked blankly. Yes. Ning Qi landed on the ground, nodded at her, and walked towards the underground palace. Ji Yunfei hesitated for a moment, and finally chose to quickly follow Ning Qi into the underground palace. Why haven't you left yet? Ning Qi said without turning his head. Patriarch Venomous Toad and that bitch Jin Yujing are both dead. His children and grandchildren should have also died in your hands, right? This place is considered safe, so I naturally don't have to leave in a hurry. I might have a way to remove the restrictive spell on the girls in the underground palace. Ji Yunfei said. Ning Qi was slightly startled, and looked at Ji Yunfei. You have a way? I've seen Patriarch Venomous Toad cast a spell. It should be an immortal spell commonly used by people of the demonic path, called the Soul Confusion Curse. Because these girls don't have a foundation in cultivation, Patriarch Venomous Toad didn't dare to use too much force, so as long as there's an accurate method, it's very easy to break. Ji Yunfei said. Ning Qi nodded and no longer spoke. However, when they were about to reach the hall where the girls were, Ning Qi suddenly said, You seem to hate Jin Yujing very much. That bitch. Ji Yunfei couldn't help but spit. She's a disciple of the Mystic Light sect of planet Southern Mountain, and I'm a disciple of the Ji family of planet Southern Mountain. We used to have a good relationship, and we often went out to gain experience together. However, there was one time when Jin Yujing went to the wilderness alone and suddenly disappeared. I once looked for her for a long time, but I couldn't find her, so I went back to planet Southern Mountain. However, more than 10 years ago, Jin Yujing suddenly returned to planet Southern Mountain after disappearing for more than 200 years. She told me that someone here was using girls to cultivate evil techniques, and that it was a demon whose cultivation was only at the early stage of heaven immortal. She wasn't a match for him, so she came to find me. In the end, you followed her here, and then, Ning Qi smiled. Ji Yunfei seemed to hear a hint of mockery in Ning Qi's laughter, and her eyes couldn't help but surge with a trace of anger. However, this anger wasn't directed at Ning Qi, but at the already dead Jin Yujing. Who would have thought that after so many years of friendship, she would harm me like this? What angered me the most was that patriarch Venomous Toad didn't take her mind. All these years, she used all kinds of methods to deceive women to come here, and she was completely willing. Chapter 26:31. There's a disease in this world called Stockholm Syndrome. She might be suffering from it. Ning Qi smiled. As Stockholm Syndrome. Yes, Stockholm Syndrome. You mean Jin Yujing is sick? That's impossible. How can an earth deity get sick? Only mortals get sick. Ji Yunfei was in disbelief. Immortals could get poisoned and injured, but they wouldn't get sick. This was a well-known fact in the celestial world. It's a psychological disease. Even immortals can fall for it. It's not surprising at all. Ning Qi chuckled. Ji Yunfei's expression changed. Then, she looked at Ning Qi curiously. You seem to know a lot. Oh, who are you? Ning Beixian. Ning Qi smiled. After a while, Ning Qi suddenly felt the footsteps behind him disappear. He turned around and looked at Ji Yunfei. What's wrong? Ji Yunfei stood there in a daze. She pointed at Ning Qi and said in disbelief, You? Ning Beixian? Yes, send money. Ning Qi was startled and nodded. Send money? What money? No, how can you be Ning Beixian? Ning Beixian is number 1 on the Earth deity ranking. You're already a perfected sky immortal. Ji Yunfei murmured to herself. Her eyes were still filled with disbelief. Looks like I'm quite famous. Even people from so far away know my name. Ning Qi laughed self-deprecatingly. He ignored Ji Yunfei and continued to walk towards the hall. Seeing this, Ji Yunfei quickly followed him. She was like a crazy fan, constantly asking Ning Qi about the first place on the earthly immortal ranking board. I know. You must have broken through to the sky immortal stage. That's why your name is missing from the earth deity ranking. No wonder many people in the Ji family think you're dead. Hee, I didn't expect to see Ning Beixian alive. They won't believe me if I tell them. Young Master Ning, don't worry. Since you can become the first on the Earth Immortal rankings, it doesn't matter if your name isn't on the Heaven Immortal rankings for now. You will definitely become the first on the Heaven Immortal rankings in the future. Ning Qi nodded his head noncommittally, but in his heart, he already knew that it was most probably impossible for him to enter the Heavenly Tao rankings. If not, given his combat prowess, he would have long become the number 1 ranker on the Heavenly Tao rankings. At the very least, he wouldn't be unable to enter the top 10. Something must have happened. Right now, the Heavenly Tao rankings no longer recorded his name. Just like the descendants of the Tiandao clan. At first, Ning Qi thought that Ji Yunfei was a very cold person, but he didn't expect her to be so talkative that she was comparable to a chatterbox. In the end, Ning Qi used the method he was best at. He successfully diverted Ji Yunfei's topic so that she would no longer ask questions about Ning Qi's private affairs. In Ning Qi's opinion, these questions were really silly. Do you know Ji Shan? Ning Qi asked. Ji Shan? Ji Yunfei was slightly startled. Then, she seemed to think of something and gasped. She looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. Young Master Ning, you know the heavens chosen of our main branch? Main branch? It is said that in ancient times, our Ji clan was an extremely large clan. There were even quite a few immortal emperors in the clan. However, after the Great War of Immortals and Demons, the Ji clan was torn apart. In the end, apart from the main branch, the other branches were scattered all over the immortal realm. Although our surname is Ji, we don't have a Ji. The true legacy of the clan is in the main branch of the Ji clan. Ji Shan is the most outstanding heavens chosen of the main branch in recent years. He has cultivated for less than 300,000 years, but he has already achieved Dao fruit and become a grand Luo. He has a great chance of becoming a primordial unity true immortal in the future. Ji Yunfei's face showed a hint of admiration. 300,000 years might be a very long time for mortals, long enough for hundreds of dynasties to pass through. But for immortals, a celestial immortal could live for one ancient era, and one ancient era was 13 eras. Each era lasted for more than 80 million years. 300,000 years was really a very short period of time. That was why Ji Yunfei was here. That was why Ji Yunfei worshipped Ji Shan. You can say that. We've met a few times on the ancestral planet, Ning Qi said calmly. What does Ji Shan look like? Is he as handsome as you? What's his temper like? What does he like to eat? Blah blah blah. Hold on. If you want to know, go to the ancestral planet yourself. He's probably still there. Ning Qi rolled his eyes helplessly. At this time, the two of them had already walked into the hall. Seeing this, Ji Yunfei didn't say anything else. Instead, she walked up to one of the girls and patted her head. Not long after, the girl's eyes became clear again. She looked at Ning Qi with some fear. And two eyeballs the size of beans suddenly appeared in her eye socket. When Ning Qi saw this, he suddenly realized a problem. There were more than 100,000 girls in the hall. They were different from the ones Zhuge Lingye had captured. Those girls were all captured from planet Nina meritocracy, so it was not difficult for him to order the other immortals to send them back. But now, it was very likely that Venomous Toad Ancestor had sent Jin Yujing to gather these girls from all over the world. If he wanted to send them home, it would be an extremely huge project. Even with Ning Qi's speed, he might not be able to do it without several hundred years. Doing good deeds was fine, but wasting a few hundred years was absolutely unacceptable to Ning Qi. Why don't I bring them all to the ancestral planet? Ning Qi pondered for a moment and felt that this was a good idea. As for the girl's wishes, it was no longer important. A few days later, Ji Yunfei walked up to Ning Qi with a pale face. She had used too much force, and the restrictive spell on the girls had been dispelled. I've asked. When these girls were captured, they saw their families killed by Patriarch Venomous Toad's subordinates with their own eyes. Ji Yunfei said faintly, but Ning Qi could see that there was an indescribable anger in the depths of her eyes. This anger was much deeper than her anger towards Jin Yujing. I'm going to send them to the ancestral planet, Ning Qi said faintly. Ji Yunfei was silent for a moment, then nodded. That's the only way. She had thought of bringing these girls to planet Nanyue, but with her cultivation of a perfected sky immortal, she was afraid that she would not be able to settle so many girls. As for Ning Qi, she knew that he was number one on the earthly immortal ranking, and his methods were far beyond her imagination. Even Patriarch Venomous Toad died at his hands. The Yin-Yang lightning spear array could not do anything to him. Perhaps because they had seen too much. Aside from fear, these girls were much more mature than the children Ning Qi had met on Earth. Apart from a few whimpers, most of the girls stared at Ning Qi with wide eyes, waiting for his next move. Do you want to cultivate? Ning Qi asked. Yes. Chapter 2632. When Ning Qi and Ji Yunfei walked out of the underground palace, there were already hundreds of maids standing outside. Their eyes were filled with hatred and delight as they looked at the pile of mud on the ground. That was Jin Yujing's corpse. They were all tricked by Jin Yujing. It's just that I'm not sure if any of them have the illness that you mentioned. Ji Yunfei glanced at Ning Qi. Why don't we kill them all? Don't kill us. We're different from Jin Yujing. A maid at the Great Circle of Earth immortal stage stood up and looked at Ning Qi and Ji Yunfei sincerely. Is that so? Ji Yunfei didn't believe it. Because of Jin Yujing, she didn't have a good impression of old ancestor Venomous Toad's group of maids. "We wanted to warn this senior just now. But we're afraid that Jean Yujing," that maid whispered. "If we were like her, we would have escaped long ago. We wouldn't be standing here waiting for you." "That seems to make sense. We've been in the underground palace for a few days, right?" Ningqi looked at Ji Yunfei. Ji Yunfei frowned. Although her eyes were still unfriendly, the killing intent in her heart gradually dissipated. "Old ancestor Venomous Toad is dead. His descendants are dead. Jean Yujing is also dead. You can leave now," Ji Yunfei said coldly. "Our cultivation isn't enough to leave this place. This place has been completely refined by old ancestor Venomous Toad. There's a layer of poisonous fog outside. Without old ancestor Venomous Toad's dispelling technique, as long as we touch that poisonous fog, we will turn into a puddle of pus. Before you came, there were already several sisters who tried to leave. They turned into pus." That maid glanced at the pale green sky and said to Ningqi and Ji Yunfei. Ji Yunfei was slightly startled. She then looked at Ningqi. "Young Master Ning, with your strength, it shouldn't be a problem to break this layer of poisonous fog, right? This planet has been refined by old ancestor Venomous Toad for God knows how many tens of thousands of years. This layer of poisonous fog isn't a formation. With my means, I can't break it." Ningqi smiled. Old ancestor Venomous Toad was an early golden immortal expert. Ningqi's combat power was strong and he had enough means. But for him to break the technique left behind by an early golden immortal expert like old ancestor Venomous Toad, it would take him a long time. Ningqi didn't have that time. "Then they can only stay here?" Ji Yunfei was startled. With her cultivation, she was naturally unafraid of this layer of poisonous mist. No matter how strong Patriarch Venomous Toad was, he was unable to refine the entire planet to the extent that it was impregnable. Existences at the perfection stage of the heavenly immortal realm were naturally able to enter and leave at will. When the group of maids heard this, disappointment immediately appeared on their faces. There was even some despair in their hearts. This planet was very desolate, and 99% of its surface was made up of yellow sand. There wasn't even the slightest bit of cultivation resources. This was also the reason why Venomous Toad Ancestor had chosen this place. Even if they were to pass by, they wouldn't pay any attention to Venomous Toad Ancestor because they would be noticed by existences stronger than Venomous Toad Ancestor. "Although we can't break it, it's still very easy to make an opening. Follow me." Ningqi smiled. The group of maidservants immediately heaved a sigh of relief, and their faces lit up with joy. Ningqi soared into the sky and punched out lightly. A small hole immediately appeared in the poisonous fog that enveloped the entire planet. The group of maidservants bowed to Ningqi one by one and then left. After they left, the surrounding poisonous fog swept over once again, mending the hole. "Mr. Ning, before you return to the ancestral star, why don't you pay a visit to Planet South Peak? Planet South Peak isn't far from here, and you can reach there in half a year." Ji Yunfei looked at Ningqi with some anticipation. "I've been away from the ancestral star for a while, so I'll go back first. As for Planet South Peak, I'll go there next time when I'm free." Ningqi smiled. Ji Yunfei nodded in disappointment, but when the two were about to part ways, Ji Yunfei suddenly said to Ningqi, "A few years ago, I heard a conversation between Venomous Toad Ancestor and Jean Yujing. Venomous Toad Ancestor said that there's a mighty being chasing after 3 women. They seem to be having a great time fighting on Planet South Peak. Do you really not want to go and take a look? The mighty being that Venomous Toad Ancestor mentioned must be at least a Grand Luo, right? There's such a thing? Then I really have to go and take a look. Which direction is Planet South Peak?" Ningqi changed his words very decisively. Ji Yunfei didn't seem to think that her trick would have such a miraculous effect. She thought that Ningqi was like her, The kind of person who loved to watch a show. She immediately pointed a direction with a smile, and before she could release her ferry boat, Ning Qi had already grabbed her arm. Young Master Ning, don't you think that we're developing too quickly? Ji Yunfei's face was a little red. Ning Qi was startled, but he didn't say anything. In the next moment, he transformed into a giant eagle and flew in the direction of planet South Peak. Ji Yunfei appeared in the eagle's claws. What's going on? Ji Yunfei looked up in surprise. Young Master Ning, you're a Yao cultivator? It's just a transformation technique. Impossible. How can a transformation technique be so real? I can feel that you're a bird inside and out. Ji Yunfei shook her head, a hint of suspicion in her eyes. Ning Qi didn't say anything else and sped up. Only then did Ji Yunfei realize that Ning Qi's speed was 3 to 5 times faster than her ferry boat. At this speed, they could reach planet South Peak in less than a month or two. Ancient Heavenly Court Immortal Region. Planet South Peak. In a desolate and uninhabited place, 3 figures and 1 figure were separated by a long river, looking at each other from afar. Give it to me, and I'll grant you a lifetime of riches, Jiang Yu said with a smile. Jiang Yu smiled. At this very moment, there was a clear difference between the Jiang Yu that Ning Qi met when he was thrown to the ancestral star by the reincarnation formation. He was more mature and his presence was more powerful. Even immortal Emperor Wang Yue back then could not compare to Jiang Yu at this very moment. You really are strange. You've chased us all the way from Lucifer's tribe. Aren't you tired at all? If you want this stone, you can come and take it yourself. Jian Shilai looked at Jiang Yu indifferently. In her hand, she held a stone that resembled a heart. The stone had burning marks on it, which turned into golden patterns that surged towards Jian Shilai's hand. However, they stopped at Jian Shilai's elbow, unable to advance any further. A special pattern that resembled a tattoo appeared on Jian Shilai's right arm. At this moment, Jian Shilai's aura was extremely strange. It seemed to overshadow Jiang Yu, but it felt uncontrollable. Spider One and North Moon Lingqiu stood beside Jian Shilai. The 2 women were in a very strange state as well. Their auras were vaguely connected to Jian Shilai's. Chapter 26:33. Concubine. North Moon Lingqiu and Spider One were rather annoyed. The 2 of them had already learnt that Jiang Yu was countless times more terrifying than the Empyrean demon ancestor from the Lucifer tribe, and this place was different from the demon continent. Instead, it was the legendary immortal continent. The demons in the immortal prison had basically all seen the performance of the Great War of Immortals and Demons. With North Moon Cold Autumn and Spider Streak's intelligence, they had long since connected the dots to the demons in those performances. After coming to the immortal world, they were even more certain that these were real existences in this world, and not just for show. And this guy in front of him was very likely one of the best of these immortals, and his methods were many times stronger than the celestial devil ancestor. However, the 2 girls were still not afraid. Because of the demon ancestor's heart in Jian Shilai's hand, the other party did not dare to act rashly. Not to mention attacking, they did not even dare to get close. Is the Tiandao family very strong? Jian Shilai smiled. Very strong. Jiang Yu nodded seriously. The entire immortal world is under the control of our Tiandao clan. Those experts that you usually see, our Tiandao clan has many of them. They can only be considered as ordinary outer disciples. Since it's so powerful, why don't you dare to come and take it? Jian Shilai smiled and waved the demon ancestor's heart at Jiang Yu. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Jiang Yu's greedy gaze followed the demon ancestor's heart. When he heard Jian Shilai's words, his face immediately darkened. If he hadn't learned from the ancient books in his clan that the extremely powerful 4th step cultivator, the demon ancestor who had created the demon world, had left behind a demon ancestor's heart, it would not have taken so many years. Only Jiang Yu himself knew how much effort he had put into finding a few hidden fragments of the demon race's continent. If I had the power of the demon ancestor's heart, I would probably be able to recover from that injury. Even if I had to devote myself to the demon path, what would I have to fear? Jiang Yu made up his mind. He stared coldly at Jian Shilai and said, "You are now in possession of the demon ancestor's heart, so I don't dare to touch it. However, with your cultivation, you will not be able to withstand the power of the demon ancestor's heart. One day you will go berserk and die from your body exploding. I will follow closely behind you. When your bodies explode and die, this demon ancestor's heart will belong to me." Pausing for a moment, he continued, "However, I, Jiang Yu, am someone who has tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. I can't bear to see you end up like this, so I'll give you one more chance. Give me the demon ancestor's heart and you will obtain the right to enter my Jiang family." Jian Shilai looked at Jiang Yu in disdain before turning around and leaving. North Moon Lingqiu and Spider Line saw this and quickly followed after him. "Bitch!" Jiang Yu's eyes gradually turned cold and he could not help but feel a little agitated. This was the situation he did not want to see the most. The Central Continent could also be considered an immortal realm, but it was different from the most famous mainstream immortal realms. There were no immortals in that place, and even if there were, they were hiding from the unranked immortals who hunted them down. Such places were known as ghost realms. Jiang Yu had originally planned on restraining Jian Shilai and the others in the ghost realms to buy time and wait for them to explode and die. That way, he would have at least a 10% chance of obtaining the demon ancestor's heart. However, he had never thought that Jian Shilai and the others would accidentally barge into the ancient Heavenly Court's immortal realm. If that happened, the situation would spiral out of control. If the descendants of the other 8 clans accidentally saw it, or if the other 3 existences on par with him in the Jiang family discovered the demon ancestor's heart, the situation would spiral out of control. He was not worried about the ancestors of the various clans. They only dared to hide in their clans, not daring to take a single step out. They had always been afraid of a certain existence. In Jiang Yu's eyes, they were a bunch of people with strength but were as cowardly as mice. As long as he obtained the demon ancestor's heart, he would definitely be able to surpass these ancestors. At that time, the 9 clans of the heavenly laws would all have to listen to his orders. "I can't push them too hard." Jiang Yu slowly followed Jian Shilai and the others. He had pushed them too hard before, which was why the 3 of them had coincidentally come to the ancient Heavenly Court's immortal realm. Planet South Peak was only a level 5 planet, and few mighty figures would pass by. Jiang Yu's current goal was no longer to snatch the demon ancestor's heart from the 3 women. Instead, he hoped that they would not leave planet South Peak. That way, it would be less likely for others to discover the existence of the demon ancestor's heart. I must obtain the demon ancestor's heart. If what that ancestor left behind is true, the demon ancestor's heart is likely to be related to the extremely mysterious Shunluo realm. If even that ancestor wants to go there, there must be a great opportunity hidden within. It might be the key for me to become a 3rd-step cultivator. A giant eagle flew over from the depths of the universe. When it was about to reach planet South Peak, the giant eagle shook its body and transformed into an extremely handsome young man. "Mr. Ning, you're really too fast." Ji Yunfei combed her somewhat messy hair, then looked at the blue planet in the distance and said, "This is planet South Peak. This should be Mr. Ning's first time here, right?" "This is the 2nd time." Ning Qi smiled. "Mr. Ning has already been to planet South Peak?" Ji Yunfei was in slight disbelief. "Yes." Ning Qi smiled and nodded. After being taken away by Wenxing and Wenqing from the Nine-Sect Alliance's gladiator arena, the two of them did not immediately return to the vast star of the heavenly ancient mystic realm. Instead, they brought him and Zhao Tong to planet South Peak to visit a sect with a golden immortal, the Yunhua sect. At that time, the two of them had planned to obtain a few lotuses from the Yunhua sect, but they ended up being tricked by the Yunhua sect. Now that they thought about it, the Yunhua sect had probably already received the news that the one family of the vast star had been annihilated, which was why they were in such a hurry to cut ties with Wenxing and Wenqing. After all, the one family was annihilated with a single punch, and the person who did it was at least a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. Such an existence would be considered an expert no matter where they went, let alone a level 5 planet like planet South Peak that only had one Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. To the Yunhua sect, such an existence was a great enemy that they could not afford to provoke. Let's go and see if the few almighties you mentioned are still on planet South Peak. Ning Qi smiled. Then let's go back to my home first. I've been missing for more than a decade, and my family must be very worried. Ji Yunfei said. As you wish. Ning Qi nodded. Ji Yunfei would be considered a rare prodigy even on the ancestral planet, let alone a planet that had just entered Class 5 like planet South Peak. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.